Chapter 1791. The disciple that came from afar was not only a refinement stage cultivator, but also a refinement stage 12th stage. Seeing this, Xiaohua was delighted. He flew out from the foot of the mountain and intercepted the disciple. Without waiting for Xiaohua to speak, the disciple seemed to recognize Yin Jiechong. His face actually showed a pleasantly surprised expression. Activating a flying glyph, he stopped in front of Xiaohua and bowed. Junior Feng Yi greets Senior Yin. Congratulations, Senior Yin. Congratulations, Senior Yin. Xiaohua was stunned, but his eyes turned. He raised his hand to help Feng Yi up and smiled. So it's Yin Yi. It seems like I've seen you before. Senior Yin has a good memory. Feng Yi's face was immediately filled with admiration. He complimented. The last time I saw Senior Yin was several years ago. Us Cultivator family disciples went to Senior Yun's place to congratulate Senior for entering Foundation establishment. Junior has only seen Senior once. I didn't expect Senior to still remember it. Junior really admires you. Ha ha, it's nothing. We're all Cultivator family disciples. Even if we entered the Huanhua sect, we still need to support each other. Xiaohua smiled. I only did a small thing and you actually knew about it. It really makes I ashamed. Feng Yi's face was filled with emotion. He said, Senior's breadth of mind is indeed incomparable to mine. This is also the reason why Senior can enter Foundation establishment while I've been wandering around outside. Senior even sees the awakening of the fire dragon's bloodline so lightly. Is there anything in the world that you can't see past? Ah? Xiaohua was stunned. He secretly cursed. Damn. I was just scolding this guy. Who would have thought? This guy's fire dragon's true blood is the same as Red Dawn's ice phoenix's true blood. They've both awakened? This young master really has a bad mouth. Xiaohua immediately covered up his shock and smiled. Us cultivators, which one of us doesn't have true spirit blood in our veins? It's just that the time isn't right. Martial nephew Feng will also have a chance in the future. Junior doesn't dare. Junior can only look forward to it. Feng Yi's eyes flashed with a trace of passion and he said humbly, even if Junior's bloodline has awakened, it definitely cannot compare to Senior Yun's fire dragon true blood. And there's also Fairy Hongxia's ice phoenix true blood. Hee Senior Yin, actually, you and Fairy Hongxia are truly a match made in heaven and earth. A flame dragon and an ice phoenix. This is the auspicious meaning of dragon and phoenix. Your grandmother. Xiaohua immediately cursed in his heart. This young master's flame phoenix and Red Cloud's ice phoenix are a perfect match. Moreover, I already have one. Oh right, Senior Yun. Feng Yi asked again. Junior heard that Senior had already left the Huanhua sect a few months ago. Under the accompaniment of our sect's master, you returned to Su Yin to search for the secret method to use the true blood of the fire dragon. Why? Why did you suddenly return to the Huanhua sect today? Seeing Xiaohua frown slightly, Yunyi immediately came to his senses and smiled apologetically. Haha, from what I'm asking, Senior must have obtained the flame dragon inheritance very smoothly. Xiaohua glanced at Feng Yi and declined to comment. In his heart, he was contemplating whether or not he should make a move to restrain Yunyi. Yunyi misunderstood and thought that Yin Jiechong was unhappy. Thus, he quickly clapped his hands and took out a jade box from his storage bag. Handing it over, he smiled apologetically and said, Senior Yun, this junior has nothing to give Senior as a congratulatory gift. This is cloud gold liquid, a necessary item to repair treasures. According to what Junior knows, Senior's ancestral treasure, the dragon repelling ring, should be able to use this item. Even if this cloud gold liquid is from Junior, it can be considered as a congratulatory gift from my Feng clan to Senior Yun's bloodline awakening. Cloud gold liquid? Feng clan's Yun clan? Xiaohua was overjoyed when he heard this. This cloud gold liquid, Qian Mo secret stone and broken gold stone were all items needed to repair the suppressing cloud seal. Xiaohua was still looking for a chance to find it in the future, but he didn't expect Feng Yi to deliver it to his doorstep. Moreover, what made Xiaohua the happiest was that this Yun Yi was actually a disciple of Feng clan's Yun clan. When he was just Qi refining stage 2, he was hunted down by the Feng clan of Feng clan, and had long since formed a grudge. Wouldn't it be a waste if he didn't take something from the Feng clan? And not bad. Yin Jiechong took the jade box and nodded. Feng clan is considerate. I will remember this in my heart. Seeing Yin Jiechong take the cloud gold liquid, Feng Yi was overjoyed. Rolling his eyes, he clapped his hands again and took out a token. Senior Yin. This is Junior's token from my clan. Xiaohua frowned when he heard this. He originally wanted to take this from Feng Yi. He was still thinking about how to use Yin Jiechong's appearance to do something bad, but Yin Jiechong had already guessed it, and even delivered it to him. How could he not be surprised? That Feng Yi obviously thought wrong. Seeing Xiaohua frown, he immediately explained, Senior Yin, please don't misunderstand. Junior only wants to ask Senior to find time to come to the Wind Station. My Feng family hopes that Senior can tell us about the experience of Foundation establishment. Especially the experience of how to awaken the true spirit blood. Oh, Senior Yun, as long as Senior gives a little guidance to my Feng clan will definitely repay you with a generous gift. This token is Junior's proof of inviting Senior. Feng Yi looked at Xiaohua with longing and said in a low voice, I won't hide it from Senior. In order to invite Senior, my Feng clan prepared a big gift. I believe Senior will definitely like it. Oh. Is that so? Xiaohua's heart moved. He took Feng Yi's token. What is it? Why is it so mysterious? Will it definitely make I satisfied? Hee. As for what it is exactly, the sect master didn't tell Junior. He only sent a message to let Junior find a chance to invite Senior. Feng Yi smiled apologetically. It's just that Junior went out for foundation building experience and just returned. I didn't know that Senior had already returned. Yes. I came back today because of a secret order from the sect master. I was walking on a secluded path to avoid everyone, but I didn't think that I would still meet you. Xiaohua said with a slightly cold face. Feng Yi was startled and smiled apologetically. Isn't that right? Isn't this Junior's opportunity? Is it also the heavens that invited Senior to my Feng clan? Don't worry, Junior will make a blood oath right now to not reveal Senior's whereabouts. Yes, that's good. Xiaohua nodded. Also in the future, don't mention it before I. Even if you mention some cloud gold juice or some token, I won't know about it. Yes, Junior understands. Feng Yi said very respectfully. Also Feng Ji, I will go. But when I will go, whether it's a few months or a few years, I can't say. After all, there is a secret order from the sect master. Xiaohua said again. Also, this matter is the same as what I said just now. Don't mention it in front of I. Even if I go, don't mention it. Junior understands. Feng Yi was overjoyed. This matter of bloodline awakening is something that all the aristocratic families pay attention to. Junior was lucky enough to invite Senior is already a great fortune. Junior will definitely not cause trouble for Senior. Junior will treat this matter as if it never happened. Yes, that's good. Xiaohua waved his hand. I can only receive that item if I go. If I don't go, your Feng clan won't suffer any losses. That's right. Feng Yi smiled. My Feng clan sincerely invites Senior to go. Yes, I know. You can go. Xiaohua waved his hand. I know. Thank you, Senior. Feng Yi didn't dare to delay any longer. After bowing, he hurriedly flew away. Ha ha. Great. Xiaohua tossed the token in his hand a few times and smiled. This young master's character is becoming more and more amazing. Not only did I easily get the token, but I also got some benefits from the Feng clan. I just don't know what that thing is. It can actually satisfy the foundation establishment Yun Jiechong? Thinking about it, e.g. of the Wind residence has existed for who knows how many years. They bully the weak like that, so naturally they have a lot of good things. Looks like this young master has to find a time to go to the Wind residence and plunder the Feng clan. Oh no, this is bad. Xiaohua thought of the benefits of the Feng clan and immediately remembered the protective magic treasure he entrusted to the refiner in Chiyu City's workshop. This is really bad. The time I agreed with the workshop was 1 year. I thought that 1 year was enough to return to Chiyu City from Mingxi, but I didn't expect that I would be sent here by accident. Also, I am not someone who is indulging in pleasure. Because Hongxia's cultivation can't reach large success, I can't leave at will. Now 5 years have passed. I don't know what that magic treasure. Xiao Hua was a bit regretful. That was a complete magic treasure refined from 2 broken defensive magic treasures. It was even better than the broken cloud suppressing seal. If he didn't go and see it, he would still be reluctant. Forget it, let's go to Chiua City first. Xiao Hua made up his mind. His figure and appearance changed again, turning into Feng Yi's appearance. He flew towards the Huanhua Sect's mountain gate. Xiao Hua had been to the Huanhua Sect's mountain gate before. However, that was the guest pavilion used by the outer sect disciples. The path of the Huanhua Sect's disciples was different. Xiao Hua followed Hongxia Fairy's instructions and looked around while landing. In front of the mountain gate was a rather large jade palace. Inside the palace, there were some disciples on duty. Their cultivation levels were different. Similar to Xiao Hua, there were also several disciples flying in from all over the Huanhua sect. It seemed that they also wanted to leave the Huanhua sect. Outside the palace, there were also 1 or 2 disciples returning from outside and landing in front of the palace door. Xiao Hua was not in a hurry to go out. Instead, he paused for a moment. At this moment, an 11th level Qi refining disciple flew over from Xiao Hua's right. Seeing that he was in a hurry, Xiao Hua turned around and glanced at him. That disciple saw Xiao Hua looking at him and quickly slowed down. He cupped his hands and saluted. Disciple Zhengpai greets senior brother. This brother is called Feng Yi. If junior brother is in a hurry, you can go first. Xiao Hua said with a smile. This disciple doesn't dare. Zhengpai quickly modestly declined. You go in front. This brother is not in a hurry. I will follow behind you. Xiao Hua frowned and said. Yes, many thanks senior brother Feng. Zhengpai didn't dare to say more. He quickly walked in front of Xiao Hua with a smile and entered the palace. Chapter 1792. Fairy Hongxia had already told Xiao Hua earlier that when Huanhua sect disciples went out, they had to report to the Mountain Gate Palace, just like how Imperial Thunder sect disciples had to report to their respective Thunder Palace. Therefore, Fairy Hongxia was worried that Xiao Hua would not be able to leave the Huanhua sect smoothly. Fairy Hongxia had already told Xiao Hua the details of the report many times, and Xiao Hua was also clear about it. However, since someone wanted to demonstrate in front of him, Xiao Hua could only give in. After entering the palace, Xiao Hua stole a glance at it. This palace was exceptionally gorgeous, and the walls of the palace were painted with many handsome men and beautiful women. The people in these paintings were performing beautiful stories one after another. These stories were about mortals, cultivators, and even immortals. Above these paintings, there was a faint fluctuation of spiritual power, and some brilliance overflowed. On top of the palace, there were strange runes on the ground. Not only could they isolate spiritual sense, but if one looked at them for a long time, they would also be lost in a trance. Just the Mountain Gate Palace alone is so extravagant and so tightly packed. The other places of the Huanhua sect must also be heavily guarded. If I don't go out from the Mountain Gate, I won't be able to break in. Xiao Hua naturally knew how strict the protection of a cultivator's sect was. The sect protection formation was not something a golden core stage cultivator could dream of. With his current strength, he was afraid that he would not be able to break through it. Name, where are you going? Which teacher is on official business not far away from the palace gate? There was an emotionless voice, and it was followed by a disciple's respectful reply. In front of Zhengpai were 2 disciples with big shoulders and waists. Their faces were unexpectedly fierce, and they were also at Qi refining stage 12. Zhengpai glanced at them and was slightly anxious, but he did not dare to speak. Seeing this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, Junior brother Zheng, you look like you have an urgent matter. Why don't you tell the senior brother in front of you? Zhengpai's face was embarrassed and he whispered, Many thanks for senior brother Feng's concern. It's all my fault. I actually forgot to do something for Marshal Uncle. I just came back and I have to go out. Sigh, although it's a small matter, if I don't pass the message and something happens, I won't be able to bear the responsibility. That's true. Xiao Hua nodded. Every time I go out, there are always too many things to do. After doing one thing, I forget about another. But every single thing is extremely important, so I can't not do it. I won't hide it from junior martial brother Tsung. I've just entered the sect and haven't even seen Master before remembering that there's something I need to do. I had no choice. Sung Pai was originally very embarrassed, but as soon as he heard Xiaohua's words, he immediately felt a sense of familiarity. He immediately said in a very intimate manner, "That's right, why didn't I tell you? Hurry up and cultivate to the foundation establishment realm. Then you don't need to worry about the sect's chores anymore. Every year, you only need to do some things for the sect according to the sect's situation. You won't be lacking in any case." Then he said with envy, "Senior martial brother Feng is already a chi refining cultivator of the 12th layer. Just a little more effort and you'll be able to break through. I'm so envious." Sigh, Xiaohua laughed bitterly. "I've already been in the 12th layer of the aura refining realm for 10 years, but I still haven't reached foundation establishment. Hee, it's nothing." Sung Pai said with a smile, "I have a senior martial brother who's the same as senior martial brother Feng. He's also been cultivating for more than 10 years, but both of them have extinguished the desire to advance. Who would have thought that a few days ago, he suddenly reached foundation establishment? Even he himself is baffled." Then he looked at Xiaohua and said, "Moreover, among our Huanhua sect's 12th layer qi refining disciples, nearly 80% can't reach foundation establishment. Even if senior martial brother Feng..." I misspoke. Senior martial brother Feng will definitely reach foundation establishment. At this point, the two tall and sturdy disciples in front of them unhappily turned their heads and glared at the two of them. As if Tsung Pai's words had hit a sore spot, they reprimanded Tsung Pai. "What does a 10th layer chi refining brat know about foundation establishment? Don't talk nonsense and make people annoyed." Yes. Tsung Pai promptly smiled apologetically and didn't dare to say anything else. At this moment, several 12th layer qi refining disciples appeared behind Xiaohua. They all seemed to want to go out as well. Strange, how come there are so many 12th layer qi refining cultivators all of a sudden? Xiaohua was a bit uneasy. How come I didn't notice it before? Moreover, the more people there are, the more likely there are disciples who know Feng Yi. I don't even know who Feng Yi knows. However, the voices outside the palace hall's door disappeared again. Xiaohua didn't know what they were doing. Damn it. How can this Huanhua sect be like this? Xiaohua was a bit anxious. He understood in his heart that man proposes but the heavens disposes. He was only a few dozen feet away from the palace hall's door. The bright thunder escape would only take a few breaths to get out. Who knows what kind of unforeseen event could happen within these few dozen feet? He was truly worried that whatever he was worried about would happen. Just as Xiaohua lowered his head and looked towards the palace hall's door, he heard a probing voice from behind him. Senior martial brother Feng? Is it senior martial brother Feng Yi?" Hearing this, Xiaohua secretly complained in his heart. He didn't want to answer, but Tsung Pai unexpectedly turned his head and looked behind him. He reminded Xiaohua, "Senior martial brother Feng, the person behind you seems to be calling you, right?" Xiaohua's heart immediately had the urge to choke Tsung Pai to death. And he also had the urge to ruthlessly slap himself. Why was he trying to be clever? Wouldn't it be fine if he just told Tsung Pai another name? Why did he have to say Feng Yi's real name? And Xiaohua stammered. He turned his head and saw a 10th layer chi refining skinny disciple looking at him with astonishment. You Xiaohua really didn't know what this guy's name was. He could only stutter. "Junior martial brother, are you going out?" "That's right. Senior martial brother Feng, of course I'm going out. Didn't I already tell you?" That disciple blinked his eyes and asked curiously. "Didn't senior martial brother just come back? Didn't you go see master? Why are you going out again? Why are you in front of little brother? Also. That disciple looked at Xiaohua and said, "Also a few times." He seemed to have discovered that Xiaohua was different from Feng Yi, but looking at the same appearance as Feng Yi, he didn't know what to say. This is bad. Xiaohua's eyes quickly turned. Listening to this disciple's tone, it was clear that he had just seen Feng Yi. Moreover, he had a very close relationship with Feng Yi. As long as he probed a little, he would know that he wasn't Feng Yi. Moreover, there were layers upon layers of restrictive spells inside the palace. Not to mention the Foundation establishment disciples guarding the palace gate. He probably wouldn't be able to escape just by relying on the mountain protecting formation. Next, a voice came from outside the palace gate. The tall and sturdy cultivator quickly walked out of the palace gate. Damn it, if I knew earlier, I wouldn't have let Xing Pai in front of me. While Xiao Hua was regretting, he also had a bit of hope. He quickly replied, after meeting Junior Martial Brother, I immediately discovered that there was something I couldn't do. I had no choice but to. That's not right. Senior Martial Brother Feng. Didn't you just say that you were going out to do something? Everything was settled. You were just waiting to see Master. Why did you go out again? That disciple clearly knew everything about Feng Yi. Chapter 1793. Hearing the disciple's question, Xiao Hua immediately cast his gaze outside the hall. While operating the mental cultivation method in his body, and preparing to use the awakening lightning escape, he secretly pondered how he should answer. At this moment, a young 10th layer Qi refining disciple flew in from outside the hall. That disciple was originally behind the disciple who spoke to Xiao Hua. But after he landed in the hall, he didn't stop. Instead, he passed through the crowd and walked towards Xiao Hua, as if he was going to directly walk out of the hall. Seeing this, Xiao Hua was overjoyed and scolded. How can you be so ignorant of the rules? Why aren't you hurrying to line up behind your senior brothers? Unexpectedly, that disciple didn't pay attention to Xiao Hua at all. He glanced at Xiao Hua with eyes full of contempt. Why does this disciple look so familiar? At this moment, Xiao Hua finally noticed the disciple's face and thought it was somewhat strange. Xiao Hua had come to the Rinsing Flower sect to participate in the disciple selection before, and had indeed seen a few Rinsing Flower sect disciples. However, when it came to remembering them, there really weren't many. Oh, it's that Yutong. Xiao Hua suddenly understood. Wasn't this arrogant little cultivator the 4th layer Qi refining cultivator, who fought over the Kingfisher with him, and was accepted by the Rinsing Flower sect? No wonder he's so arrogant. Xiao Hua secretly criticized. He actually made the Rinsing Flower sect lower the conditions to recruit him, and even had a Foundation establishment cultivator to help him. He must have a background that I don't know about. The moment Xiao Hua came to his senses, Yutong also passed through the palace and walked outside the palace door. Moreover, Xiao Hua's reprimand successfully drew everyone's attention to Yutong. Even the disciple who had been talking to Xiao Hua looked at Yutong's back that had stopped outside the palace door. And which disciple doesn't know the rules? Outside the hall, that emotionless voice faintly sounded. Reporting to senior brother, this disciple has the Rinsing Flower command token as proof. I have an urgent matter to attend to and must leave the sect. Yutong said proudly. He clapped his hand and took out a command token shaped like a flower. That voice was clearly surprised. Immediately after, a fair-skinned 11th layer Qi refining disciple with a medium build appeared at the hall door. He very respectfully saluted the Rinsing Flower command token in Yutong's hand, and then said in a low voice, Junior brother, please hand the Rinsing Flower command token to me, and let I verify its authenticity. Yes. Senior Martial Brother, please verify it. Yutong calmly extended his hand and handed the flower washing token to the disciple. The disciple on duty scanned it with his divine sense before respectfully returning the flower washing token. He nodded and said, It is indeed a flower washing token issued by the sect master. Does Junior Brother Yutong have any orders? Are you going to leave immediately? Do I need to show my flower washing token to leave the mountain gate? Although Yutong said little brother, his demeanor did not show the slightest awareness of being a little brother. The disciple on duty didn't dare to be negligent. He smiled and said, Junior Brother Yutong, if you have any instructions, please tell us. Yes. Yutong was as arrogant as ever. He turned around and looked at the dozen or so disciples waiting in line. He pointed at them and said, He. These 12th layer Qi refining disciples don't need to register. Now come with me and escort me to a place. What? The disciple was stunned. He looked at Yutong awkwardly and said, Junior brother, I am only a disciple on duty at the mountain gate. I can only register the disciples who come in and out for inspection. Junior brother, you can say you don't need to register, but I don't have the authority to make these disciples follow you. I have the flower washing token. If the sect master comes in person, which disciple of the flower washing sect dares to disobey I? Yutong raised the flower washing token and turned his head to say, 12th layer Qi refining disciples step forward. I have been ordered by the sect master to go out on official business. Because I left in a hurry, I didn't have time to ask the senior martial brothers to escort me. I have the flower washing token. Senior martial brothers, please come with I. Your official business will be suspended from now on. Come with I back to the mountain before you continue. The 12th layer Qi refining disciples in line looked at each other. Although they knew Yutong had the authority to make such a decision with the flower washing token, they still felt that it was ridiculous, even laughable, to ask them to be the guards of a 10th layer Qi refining disciple. What? You dare to disobey the flower washing token? Yutong sneered and looked at everyone. Xiaohua's heart had long been overjoyed, but he was afraid that the disciples who knew Feng Yi would be suspicious. Xiaohua had been enduring. At this moment, seeing Yutong look over, he hesitated and pretended to be confused. He said in a low voice, Junior martial brother, you this method. I'm afraid there's no precedent, right? Since ancient times there have been precedents. You only need to do it, and it's a precedent. Yutong's eyes turned and said, Senior martial brothers, don't be afraid. Since junior martial brother can go on this trip with a 10th layer Qi refining cultivation, there naturally won't be any danger. What do you 12th layer Qi refining cultivators have to worry about? Moreover, after this trip, junior martial brother has something to give to senior martial brothers. Saying this, Yutong thought for a moment. He looked at everyone and clapped his hand again, taking out a jade box. Since we're all senior martial brothers of the sect, junior martial brother will take out this thing first. Saying this, Yutong actually crushed the jade box. Inside were a dozen or so medicinal pills. When Xiaohua saw it, he said, Damn it, foundation building pills. This Yutong. Sure enough, he's very generous. Let's go. I don't have much free time to stay here. Senior martial brothers, if you don't want to obey the flower washing command, then you can stay here. After Yutong showed them kindness and power, he didn't say anything else and turned around to walk out of the palace hall. Great. Xiaohua was delighted. He looked at everyone who had already started walking, and also followed them out of the palace hall. The disciples on duty at the mountain gate looked very helpless as they looked at everyone's backs. Their gazes actually contained a bit of pity. Xiaohua walked out of the palace hall. Outside was a great world with a big world. Xiaohua's heart was filled with joy. He saw Yutong standing in an open space not far away. Xiaohua also followed everyone, and walked over. When everyone arrived, Yutong cupped his hands and said, Junior martial brother Yutong greets senior martial brothers. We don't dare. Junior martial brother Yutong, what business do you have? Where are we going? The cultivator with a big waist from before said flatteringly. Hee, I was holding the flower washing command just now, so it was unavoidably a bit too serious. Senior martial brothers, please don't mind. Yutong said somewhat amiably amidst his loftiness. I didn't do anything. That cultivator hurriedly said. Holding the flower washing command is like holding the sect master himself. Junior martial brothers' conduct is precisely to not let the sect master be humiliated. And very good. Yutong was very happy. He looked at everyone and said with a smile, This matter is related to a secret. The sect master actually gave this matter to junior martial brother. Junior martial brother is very panicked. Although the sect master doesn't want to attract the attention of others, junior martial brother still hopes that junior martial brother will lend a hand. Soon after, Yutong looked at the palace hall not far away and said, Let's leave this place first. After everyone flew for several hours, they arrived at a remote place. Yutong stopped and turned to the disciple with a big waist and said, Senior martial brother, I'll have to trouble you to set up a silent restriction. Okay. After that disciple set up the restriction, Yutong clapped his hand and took out the flower washing command, saying, Junior martial brother Yutong is following the sect master's order to go to the sword tomb. During this time, Junior Marshal Brother will be in charge of all matters. Senior Marshal Brothers should listen to Junior Marshal Brothers' orders. Sword Tomb? Xiaohua was stunned. He knew this name. It was a place at the border between the state of Shi and the state of Huan. It was also the last dangerous place in the top 10 dangerous places. Speaking of the Sword Tomb, one had to talk about the grudges between the Dao sect and the Sword Cultivators. Because they pursued different heavenly Dao, the Dao sect and the Sword Cultivators would inevitably fight. Tens of thousands of years ago, the situation between the two was far from as peaceful as it was today. Large and small life and death battles would occur almost every 100 or 1,000 years. It wasn't until a great battle in the Sword Tomb several thousand years ago that both sides suffered heavy casualties that they stopped fighting. It was peaceful until today. As for the location of the Sword Tomb, there were originally no dangerous places. However, as the Sword Cultivators and the Dao sect's almighty figures fought many times, many arrays were set up. Within a range of several thousand miles around the Sword Tomb, the spatial cracks, incomplete arrays, and so on were also out of control. Gradually, it became a dangerous place that neither cultivators nor swordsmen dared to enter easily. It also became the last of the top 10 dangerous places, and the only dangerous place created by the cultivators themselves. The other disciples were obviously the same as Xiaohua. They all heard of the Sword Tomb's ominous name, and their faces immediately changed. Feeling everyone's gaze, Yutong smiled and said, "Senior brothers, didn't this little brother say earlier? Since this little brother can go, why can't you senior brothers go? Moreover, there are already senior brothers inside the Sword Tomb. You senior brothers are only escorting this little brother to the Sword Tomb." Kindness, the tall and sturdy disciple nodded. "We are willing to listen to junior brother Yutong's orders." "Very good." Yutong smiled. "May I ask all senior brothers to report their names, so that this little brother can remember the benefits of senior brothers one by one?" Xiaohua's heart stirred. He circulated the sky-pilfering sun-switching technique, and began to slightly change his facial features. When it was his turn, Xiaohua smiled and said, "I Fengying greet junior brother Yutong." As he spoke, Xiaohua's gaze swept across everyone, observing their expressions. Sure enough, although everyone heard Xiaohua's conversation with another disciple in the palace, they didn't pay too much attention to Xiaohua's appearance and name. Fengying and Fengyi, although completely different, sounded similar. Everyone's attention was only on Yutong. Xiaohua's trick really did succeed. After everyone finished introducing themselves, Yutong nodded and smiled. "This is very good. In the next few months, we will work together. This little brother will rely on the strength of all senior brothers." "We don't dare." Everyone also saluted and said. "That's right, I don't know why we are escorting junior brother to the Sword Tomb. Is there a reason?" The tall and sturdy disciple's name was Zheng Ming. At this moment, his eyes turned and he asked in a low voice. Yutong smiled. "This is my Huanhua sect's secret. However..." Yutong's tone changed and he said, "However, it's impossible to not let the senior brothers know about this secret. It's just that right now it's still early. We will first set off. After a certain time, this little brother will definitely let the senior brothers know." Chapter 1794. Why would Xiaohua care about what they were doing in the Sword Tomb? He had already made up his mind. Although he would not directly pass through Weeping Moon City on his way to the Sword Catacomb, the direction was not too different. One was purely north, while the other was northwest. He would wait for a few more days and find an opportunity to escape. A disciple named Fengying. Even if he turned the entire Huanhua sect upside down, he would not be able to find her, right? As for finding Fengyi, Fengyi would definitely not admit it. In any case, there was no registration at the mountain gate, and no one had checked the token. No one could identify Fengyi. As for the disciples who knew Fengyi, it was like seeing a ghost in broad daylight. Moreover, following this, Yutong's arrangement was even more in line with Xiaohua's wishes. All the Huanhua sect disciples changed into ordinary Taoist robes, and they were also forbidden to talk about anything related to the sect, as if they were afraid of being seen through by others. This is getting more and more interesting. Xiaohua silently flew at the very back of the crowd. His eyes looked at the dozen or so Huanhua sect disciples in front of him and secretly calculated in his heart. This Yutong is a disciple with a background. Why did he go to the sword catacomb? Besides, he was only a 10th layer Qi cultivator. Even if he went to the sword catacomb, what could he do? If it was a simple matter of sending a message, it would be fine to find someone else. But if it was an escort, wouldn't any random foundation establishment cultivator take care of it? Back then, when this guy entered the Rinsing Flower sect, he had the help of foundation establishment cultivators. Well, since this guy can go there, it must not be a dangerous place. If I can take a peek at the secrets of the Huanhua sect, this young master can be considered to have gained something. Flying with this group of brats for more than a month was not in vain. Xiaohua had obviously changed his plan to slip away as soon as he came out. He wanted to follow Yutong to the sword catacomb to take a look. However, the more he wanted to go, the more the opportunity to leave came. On this day, they flew to a slightly barren place and Yutong stopped. He looked at everyone and said with a smile, "We have traveled for more than a month without any mishaps, and there are no mishaps. Now that we are close to the sword tomb, we have to be careful." Seeing that everyone was confused, Yutong clapped his hand and took out a jade slip. He smiled and said, "I need a senior brother to lead the way. Go to the sword mound first, and give this jade slip to the senior brother who went before me. The details are already recorded in this jade slip. Which senior martial brother is willing to go?" Everyone looked at each other. They all knew that the sword catacomb was still a long way from here. Although he was a 12th layer Qi refining cultivator, it would still be difficult for him to travel alone. Furthermore, according to Jade Tong's arrangements, he couldn't use the teleportation formation. Seeing that no one was saying anything, Yutong chuckled softly and said, "Since that's the case, I'll just point out a few things casually." Then as he spoke, Yutong pointed at Xiaohua, who was at the very end. "Me." Xiaohua was stunned. He pointed at his own nose and said in astonishment, "Yes, it's this senior brother." Yutong nodded. Although his words carried the title of senior martial brother, he didn't seem to regard Xiaohua as his senior martial brother. "Haha, all right." Xiaohua stepped out from the crowd, cupped his hands and said, "Then I will listen to junior brother's arrangement and scout ahead." "Senior brother, how should I address you?" Yutong smiled and said, "Little brother's memory has always been bad, and I haven't mentioned the names of my senior brothers for a while now. Little brother has somewhat forgotten." "I am Fengying." Xiaohua's face would change a little every day. Now he was completely different from Fengyi. "Very good." At the same time Yutong handed the jade strip to Xiaohua. He also took out a jade bottle and said with a smile, "This is some Dan. Senior martial brother Feng. Please take it as your reward for delivering this letter." "Okay." Xiaohua didn't hold back and extended his hand to receive it. "Oh right, senior martial brother Feng, this jade strip can only be opened in the sword catacomb." Yutong said again, "This is master's order. It's not little brother trying to be mysterious." "Yes, I understand." Xiaohua nodded, put away the jade strip and said again, "After I arrive at the sword catacomb and give this item to senior martial brother, what should I do? Wait for junior martial brother Yutong? After delivering the jade strip, the previous senior martial brother will send disciples over to receive you. I'll have to trouble senior martial brother Feng to bring them over." Yutong smiled. "Very good." Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, "Then I'll go first." Respectfully sending senior martial brother Feng off, Yutong also returned the salute. Xiaohua swept his eyes over the other disciples. Everyone's expression was different. Some were gloating, some were rejoicing, and some were indifferent. Hee, this Yutong is obviously a vengeful person. This young master only said a few words at the mountain gate of the Huanhua sect, and this guy has been holding a grudge until now. Hiding for so long is really frightening. Xiaohua sighed. Then his figure flew, neither too fast nor too slow, in the direction of the sword catacomb. Naturally, looking at Xiaohua's back, a trace of pleasure flashed in Yutong's eyes. It was the pleasure of playing with someone in the palm of his hand. Hee, this young master won't play with you. Xiao Hua slowly flew for more than half a day, and used his divine sense to scan the jade strip. There was a layer of restriction inside the jade strip, and it was very mysterious. If he forcibly broke it, the jade strip might be destroyed. Xiao Hua didn't think and directly threw it into the space. He believed that even if there was some kind of divine sense mark in the jade strip, no one would be able to trace it to his space. Then, Xiao Hua immediately changed direction, and used the bright thunder escape to fly in the direction of Weeping Moon City. This Imperial Thunder Sect's lightning escape technique is really interesting. The lightning escape technique is originally faster than ordinary flying techniques. Every time this awakening lightning escape technique and bright thunder escape technique is successfully cultivated, it will be 30% faster than the previous level. Although this increase is not as terrifying as what Sun Shu said, but it is already enough. What Sun Shu said is probably the guess of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples who didn't manage to cultivate the awakening lightning escape technique. Xiao Hua's figure was still a little sluggish at first, but after flying for more than 10 days, his movement technique was already smooth, and he felt that his cultivation had increased when he used the bright thunder escape technique. Perhaps this is the secret of lightning cultivators? Xiao Hua was secretly happy. Then, Xiao Hua flew forward while holding the Phoenix illusion in his hand, and used his divine sense to carefully examine it. Ever since Xiao Hua heard about the auspicious jade talisman from Kuan Fian, he had always suspected that this lifelike Phoenix illusion was the auspicious jade talisman. After all, this thing was extremely similar to what Kuan Fian said. However, during the time in the Valley of Ice, although the time was extremely long, he was always busy cultivating, busy helping Fairy Hongxia cultivate, and also cultivating some other techniques, so he didn't have the time to take out this Phoenix illusion to look at. However, Xiao Hua's divine sense looked at it again and again, and this Phoenix illusion still didn't have anything special. There were no runes inside, and no spells to use. In short, it was no different from a toy weapon. Alright, how could something that senior sister exchanged for with middle-grade spirit stones be the auspicious jade talisman? Xiao Hua smiled and was about to keep the Phoenix illusion in his space, but just as he raised his hand, he saw the illusion breaker Dharma eye on his left hand. His heart moved, and he opened his Dharma eye slightly. When his Dharma eye saw the Phoenix illusion, Xiao Hua was instantly shocked. Chapter 1795. When Xiao Hua opened his delirium Dharma eye and saw the Phoenix illusion, he couldn't help but be stunned. His flying figure instantly stopped. What he saw with his delirium eye was an exquisite formation the size of the Phoenix illusion. The formation's runes were fine, and the lines that formed the runes were abnormally even. Within the runes, there was a faint red brilliance that was hidden but not obvious. The runes of the entire formation were cleverly linked together, forming the image of a phoenix. Damn it, it really has a deep meaning. It was the first time Xiao Hua saw such an exquisite formation. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Then he no longer hurried and landed on the cloud to find a secluded place. He sat down cross-legged and focused on studying the Phoenix illusion. After looking at it for a long time, Xiao Hua gradually extinguished the thought of comprehending the formation. This was because the formation was too profound, and it was far from something he could comprehend with his current cultivation. Moreover, as the red light within the formation flowed among the various runes, the runes would change from time to time. Although the changes were not much, the formation's shape would change accordingly, which made Xiao Hua even more confused. Another thing that made Xiao Hua surprised was that the runes of the formation, other than absorbing the red fire spiritual energy between heaven and earth, also faintly emitted a kind of brilliance that even the delirium eye could see was extremely faint. The brilliance's color was close to 9 colors, but it was also really faint. Xiao Hua couldn't completely see the color clearly just by relying on his perception. What is this? It seems to be different from a formation. Xiao Hua suddenly discovered that within the Phoenix illusion, as the formation changed, there was a place with a fiery red brilliance that was constantly changing position. However, the position of the red light was extremely irregular and somewhat incompatible with the formation. Naturally, it attracted his attention. Then, Xiao Hua immersed his divine sense in, but the strange thing was he clearly felt that his divine sense had already swept that place, but he didn't see anything. It was just like the formation hidden within the Phoenix illusion. He couldn't see it at all. Strange. Xiaohua was a little surprised. Could it be that this is also a part of the formation? However, just as Xiaohua was about to withdraw his divine sense, that fiery red spot suddenly turned green, an extremely vivid green color. When Xiaohua saw this, he very naturally sent his divine sense over. Hong! Xiaohua only saw a patch of emerald green in front of his eyes. Soon after, the entire sky and earth were covered in emerald green, and in this emerald green world, there were about 10 words of chants embedded in it. Great! Xiaohua didn't have time to think about it, and hurriedly read through the mnemonic chant word by word. After he finished reading the mnemonic chant suddenly enlarged and gradually filled the entire sky. Xiaohua's divine sense seemed to be forcefully pushed out, and he saw a fiery red brilliance. Truly brilliant. At this time, Xiaohua already understood that this chant was most likely the method to control the Phoenix illusion. And this red brilliance was precisely where the cultivator who refined the Phoenix illusion engraved the chant. This incantation seems to be something that can only be checked at certain times. Moreover, the time to check it is extremely short. I only have enough time to finish reading the incantation. Xiaohua nodded inwardly. He closed his eyes and recalled the incantation that he had just seen. However, because Xiaohua wasn't sure if he could completely remember it, he didn't dare to comprehend it. He immersed his divine sense next to the brilliance and carefully stared at it with his transcendence vision, quietly waiting for the brilliance to change. Sure enough, after close to 12 hours, the fiery red brilliance turned emerald green. Xiaohua's divine sense could once again see the emerald green world, and the mnemonic chant. The majority of the mnemonic chant didn't change. Only 3 of the words were different from Xiaohua's memory. Xiaohua wasn't sure if his memory was wrong or if the mnemonic chant had changed. Therefore, he had no choice but to wait for another 12 hours to confirm that he remembered incorrectly. Damn it! 12 hours is only the time of a snap of a finger to see the mnemonic chant in such a special place. If it wasn't for this young master's transcendence vision, even if this young master used his divine sense from time to time, it would still be impossible to see the mnemonic chant in such a short time. How could this young master know the secret within? Xiaohua couldn't help but bitterly smile. It's no wonder that senior sister didn't recognize the goods. Oh, even the cultivator who sold the Phoenix illusion to senior sister only knew that this thing was extraordinary, but he couldn't find the secret within it. In the end, he had no choice but to sell it to senior sister at the price of mid-grade spirit stones. That's right. Who would be so bored as to use their divine sense to observe the Phoenix illusion for 12 hours? Who would have such extreme luck to be able to use their divine sense to scan the location of the mnemonic chant in a snap of a finger? Lucky. Xiaohua looked at his left hand, feeling rather emotional. At this time, the transcendence vision was already closed. In my memory, there seems to be no origin of the transcendence vision. I only know that it's called the transcendence vision, but I don't know how to use it or how to cultivate it. Xiaohua thought to himself. Moreover, every time I open the transcendence vision, it consumes a lot of Buddhist awareness. It seems that the cultivation of the transcendence vision is related to Buddhist awareness. Now, on my Buddha Sarira, something similar to the transcendence vision has appeared between my eyebrows. In the future, I'll have to see how to open that transcendence vision. It should be easier than this transcendence vision, right? The transcendence vision, an eye that can see through all illusions. I really have to carefully ponder over it. Previously, I completely relied on this thing in the dark mystery. It will definitely be of great use in the future. Xiaohua knew that since a similar transcendence vision could appear on the Buddha Sarira, there must be related content in the Buddhist sect's divine ability. If he wanted to freely control the transcendence vision, he had to cultivate the Buddhist sect's divine ability regarding the transcendence vision. It seems that the Buddhist sect's ruins. I have to go there if I have the chance. Xiaohua originally didn't want to go to the Buddhist sect's ruins. He was afraid that Hanju, whose background he didn't know, would have some ideas, but now he changed his mind. Subsequently, Xiaohua didn't hesitate to wait for another 12 hours. After confirming that the words of the mnemonic chant were correct, he began to comprehend the mnemonic chant for the Phoenix illusion. In just a few hours, Xiaohua's figure appeared from a hidden place. He leaped into the air and used the bright thunder escape to continue flying in the direction of Weeping Moon City. In the air, Xiaohua very naturally used his hand to brush the front of his chest. That was where the Phoenix illusion was placed close to his body. Because Xiaohua only used an extremely short amount of time to comprehend the mnemonic chant. The control of the Phoenix illusion was indeed complicated, but if one knew the mnemonic chant, just the amount of true qi used to control it, was likely that even a qi refinement cultivator would be able to use it. Of course, ordinary qi refinement cultivators definitely wouldn't be able to control such a complicated mnemonic chant. This was in line with the characteristics of the Jade Talisman. It was also the characteristic of the auspicious Jade Talisman that Kuan Fian had mentioned. Xiaohua already firmly believed that the Phoenix illusion was the auspicious Jade Talisman. Since it was the auspicious Jade Talisman, then it had to be kept close to his body. Presumably, the mysterious light that the Phoenix illusion's array absorbed by the Transcendence Vision was the so-called auspicious Jade Talisman. Of course, the auspicious Jade Talisman didn't just bring good luck like Kuan Fian had said. Since it was a Jade Talisman, then it had the most basic characteristics of a Jade Talisman. In the dozens of words of the mnemonic chant, it also recorded the method to use the Jade Talisman. After Xiaohua comprehended the mnemonic chant, he didn't waste any more time. As he hurried on his way, he pondered over the mnemonic chant in his mind. His hands also continuously waved as he familiarized himself with the newly obtained mnemonic chant. More than a day later, Xiaohua arrived at Qiyu City. At this time, Xiaohua had already returned to his original appearance. Looking at the incomparably huge stone formation, Xiaohua was somewhat emotional. Cultivation really has no concept of time. In the blink of an eye, 5 years have passed. Looking at Qiyu City again, there really isn't any change. Oh right, I wonder if those two sword cultivators found Zhang Yutong and Zhang Yuhe? What happened to senior sister after she reached foundation establishment? Thinking about this, Xiaohua took out the camouflage and put it on. Walking leisurely like a carriage, he entered Qiyu City. Xiaohua himself didn't feel it. Although he was somewhat emotional, this emotion was much less than before. Although he hadn't reached foundation establishment yet, he already had the mentality of a foundation establishment cultivator. Like before, Xiaohua called for a spirit camel carriage and arrived in front of the crafty workshop. Looking around slightly, Xiaohua stepped into the crafty workshop. Senior, do you want to buy magic tools or materials for refining? As soon as Xiaohua entered the crafty workshop, a fifth-layer refiner disciple came up to greet him. He directly ignored Xiaohua's camouflage and said very respectfully. This scene was simply no different from the first time Xiaohua came here. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and took out the triangular token. He said, I have something to look for fellow Taoist Xiaming. That disciple glanced at the triangular token. When he heard that Xiaohua was looking for Xiaming, his face immediately became respectful. He smiled apologetically and said, Senior, please follow me. After he finished speaking, he led Xiaohua to the second floor. The second floor was a bit different from before. Next to the stairs, there were a few small quiet rooms. That disciple led Xiaohua into one of them. After serving him spirit tea, he said, Senior, please wait a moment. I will ask the assistant shopkeeper to come over. Xiaohua waved his hand. He picked up the spirit tea, took a sip, then put it down again. He secretly said, Damn, this spirit tea is really nothing. It's much worse than the one in my house. But just as this thought flashed through his mind, Xiaohua's body shook as if he was struck by lightning. He was dumbstruck. When did I have a home? My home. When did I have spirit tea? Xiaohua's mind spun rapidly. He tried his best to search his mind for information about his home and spirit tea. Unfortunately, after this thought flashed through his mind, nothing else came out of his mind. Fellow Taoist, is there anything I can help you with? Xiaming's voice sounded in Xiaohua's ear. Xiaohua couldn't hide the trace of disappointment in his heart. He raised his head. In front of him was Xia Ming, who had a thin figure and a black mole on the left side of his face. Xiaohua quickly stood up and cupped his hands. Fellow Taoist Xia, I have something refined by the Qiao workshop. I specially came to pick it up today. Fellow Taoist, please give the token to I. Xia Ming looked at this cultivator who didn't pay attention to him when he entered the room, and said indifferently. Fellow Taoist Xia, please inspect it. Xiaohua handed over the token. Xia Ming took the token and scanned it with his divine sense. He took out a jade slip and looked at it with his divine sense. A trace of surprise appeared on his face. Chapter 1796. Seeing the astonishment on Xia Ming's face, Xiaohua immediately had a bad feeling and hurriedly said, Fellow Taoist Xia, this poor Taoist should have come to get this thing 4 years ago, but due to some delays, this poor Taoist had no choice but to come now. Is it? Oh, fellow Taoist, don't worry. Xia Ming saw Xiaohua's nervousness and waved his hand with a smile. We are all cultivators, who doesn't encounter things that we can't control. It's possible for us to go into seclusion for 5 to 10 years. Fellow Taoists wouldn't delay a breakthrough just because of a magic tool, right? Hehe, exactly. Xiaohua said with a smile. Therefore, my Qiao workshop will do its best to preserve the magic tools that are entrusted to you. Only when no one comes to get it in the end will we deal with it. Xia Ming said. Of course, this can only be done by I's teacher. Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, Qiao workshop really lives up to its name. You flatter me, you flatter me. Xia Ming said with a smile. It's just that fellow Taoist's item isn't in I's records, which makes I feel quite strange. According to what fellow Taoist said, it should have been recorded in I's jade slip 4 years ago. However, fellow Taoist, don't worry, please follow I. Xiaohua naturally wasn't in a hurry. Since it wasn't because of the delay, he wasn't afraid that something big would happen to the Qiao workshop. Even if something happened to the Qiao workshop, perhaps it was something that Xiaohua wished for, right? Under Xia Ming's guidance, Xiaohua came to a quiet room on the 3rd floor. Please wait a moment. After Xia Ming invited Xiaohua to sit, he clapped his hands and a butterfly-like exquisite yellow talisman appeared in his hand. Under the urging of his magic power, the yellow talisman really turned into a fluttering butterfly and flew into the wall on Xiaohua's left hand. The wall rippled with light and shadow, then returned to normal. This matter still needs to be decided by the martial uncle refining the magic tool. I don't know if he's free right now, fellow Taoist. Please don't worry. Xia Ming cupped his hands and also sat down. With a wave of his Taoist robe, he took out a plate of spirit fruits and invited Xiaohua to taste. Many thanks. Xiaohua wasn't polite either. He picked up a spirit fruit the size of a cherry and indifferently placed it in his mouth. A wave of bitterness immediately colored his tongue. Damn it, what kind of spirit fruit is this? Xiaohua frowned slightly. However, before he could relax his brows, a spicy sensation rose from the bottom of his tongue. Subsequently, sour, bitter, salty, and various other tastes appeared. When all these tastes disappeared, a faint sweetness emerged from Xiaohua's mouth. Although the sweetness was faint, it instantly filled his entire body. For a moment, his body was incomparably comfortable, and his entire mind was filled with joy. Fellow Taoist, how does this mortal realm fruit taste? Xia Ming's voice was heard. This is a spirit fruit specially provided by my workshop. It's best for consolidating one's cultivation and clearing one's mind. Many Taoists have asked my workshop about the origin of this spirit fruit after eating it. Great! After Xiaohua carefully savored the meaning of ordinary is true, he sighed with emotion. He didn't think that this kind of simple truth that the people of the secular world would savor for their entire lives could be comprehended from this small spirit fruit. Unfortunately, there are even more fellow Taoists who, after tasting 2 flavors, spat out the spirit fruit. Xia Ming said with deep meaning. This kind of fellow Taoist, from what I see, I'm afraid their cultivation won't reach great success. Perhaps Xiaohua smiled apologetically. Just as they were talking, ripples appeared on the wall where the butterfly disappeared. Xia Ming hurriedly stood up and said with a smile, Fellow Taoist, you're lucky. My martial uncle actually has free time. If it's normal for him to stay for half a year. Xiao Hua naturally knew that the person who came was a golden core cultivator. He also hurriedly stood up and respectfully waited there. At the same time, a flat figure appeared in the ripples. After the figure became full, the golden core cultivator walked down from the wall. However, this cultivator was also wearing camouflage clothing. Xiao Hua didn't know if this was the cultivator surnamed by he saw last time. Greetings, martial uncle. Xia Ming hurriedly said. Xiao Hua also cupped his hands and said, Greetings, senior. I don't know if you're senior by. And the golden core cultivator waved his hand, returning the greeting, and asked, Xia Ming, what's the matter? It's like this. Xia Ming explained the purpose of his visit, and Xiao Hua also handed over his command medallion. After the golden core cultivator looked at the command medallion, he nodded and said, This old man knows about this matter. As he spoke, he patted his hand and took out a spirit armor from his storage pouch. This spirit armor looked very ordinary. Most of it was made up of hexagonal blocks. These hexagonal blocks were engraved with fine runes, and these runes didn't show any spiritual power. At the intersection of all the hexagonal blocks, there were fine cloud-like cotton-like objects. The clouds were also covered with runes, and these runes were extremely different from the runes on the blocks. Looking at the center of the spirit armor, there was a palm-sized oval on the front and back. The oval emitted a faint purple-red brilliance, and there were faint flashes of lightning. Wonderful. Seeing this, Xiao Hua couldn't help but be overjoyed. He didn't need to use his divine sense to look at it. Just by looking at the appearance of this spirit armor, Xiao Hua liked it at first glance. Fellow Taoist Huang, this is the spirit armor you entrusted to this old man to refine. The golden core cultivator handed over the spirit armor and asked, Take a look, are you satisfied? Xiao Hua took it. It was very light in his hand. Sweeping it with his divine sense, he saw the fine formations inside, the overflowing spiritual power, and the flashing lightning formations on the front and back of the oval. Xiao Hua had never seen these before. This is exactly what this junior entrusted, Xiao Hua said with a smile. Then he was about to put the spirit armor into his space. Wait, fellow Taoist Huang. Seeing this, the golden core cultivator said, Fellow Taoist Huang, you can't take this spirit armor away for the time being. This old man has something to say. Ah. Why? Xiao Hua was stunned. He caressed the spirit armor in his hand, unwilling to give it back. Hee, fellow Taoist, don't panic, the golden core cultivator said with a smile. That day when this old man took your 2 magic treasures, I only roughly looked at them and casually estimated the price. But later on, when this old man was refining, I discovered that there were some hidden things in those 2 damaged magic treasures. And this old man was unwilling to destroy these hidden things, so I could only add some other materials. It took me a full 3 years to refine it successfully. To tell you the truth, this old man also likes this armor, the golden core cultivator said. However, since this old man spent his own materials, there are still 3 years left. The price naturally can't be compared to the past. If fellow Taoist wants to take it away, it's not impossible. This old man hopes that fellow Taoist can take out a spirit stone that matches this old man's hard work. So it's like this. Xiao Hua was a bit embarrassed. Chapter 1797. Xiao Hua hesitated for a moment and probed, But what if I don't have more spirit stones? It's not a big deal. The golden core cultivator smiled and said, I just acted on my own accord and couldn't bear to destroy the formation in the previous treasure. That's why I spent so much time. If fellow Taoist doesn't have more spirit stones, then you can take this spirit armor. Then why did Senior? Xiao Hua didn't understand and asked curiously, Didn't I say it just now? I also like this spirit armor and didn't give it to Xiaming. First, it was because of the delay, and second, I wanted to see if fellow Taoist would be willing to part with it. I will definitely exchange it with spirit stones or treasures that will satisfy fellow Taoist. The golden core cultivator quickly said. Then how many spirit stones are you willing to give? Xiao Hua smiled and asked. The golden core cultivator was overjoyed and quickly gave a number. Good boy, it seems like this spirit armor is really good. Xiaohua was overjoyed and said, Thank you for your hard work, Senior Bai. This spirit armor is for me to protect my life. I don't want to exchange my life for spirit stones. Hearing this, the golden core cultivator's expression changed slightly. Although Xiaohua couldn't see the cultivator's expression through the fog, he quickly waved his hand and took out the 2 magic artifacts from the spirit husbandry sect. Then he took out 5 spirit herbs that were around 5,000 years old and placed them on the table beside him. He explained, Senior Bai, please forgive me. I didn't know how much I should give Senior Bai, so I took the liberty to ask. We've already agreed on these 2 magical treasures. These 5 spiritual herbs are another reward for you, Senior White. Please accept them. The golden core cultivator nodded slightly after hearing this. When Xiaoming opened all the jade boxes, Xiaoming's eyes widened. He pointed at a jade box and said, Uncle Master, this is a 5,000-year-old returning separation grass. The golden core cultivator was also shocked. He waved his hand, and the jade box containing the returning separation grass flew into his hand. After carefully examining it, he nodded and said, This is indeed the returning separation grass. It's an essential spirit herb for refining the nascent soul pill. Then he raised his head and looked at Xiaohua. His gaze looked through the fog. Last time, Xiaohua already knew that a golden core cultivator could see through his concealment, but because Xiaoming was beside him, he didn't take the risk to remove the concealment. He cupped his hands and said in surprise, This is the returning separation grass? Senior White, this junior thought that it was just an ordinary spirit herb. It was only because it was very old that I decided to give it to you. That's right, this is the returning separation grass. It's exactly the spiritual grass that I need. The golden core cultivator smiled. He didn't care if Xiaohua's words were true or not. With a wave of his hand, he put the returning separation grass into his storage bag and said, Fellow Taoist Bai's character is indeed excellent. Most cultivators would turn around and leave if they were able to get such a good deal. The rest would also take out a certain amount of spirit stones as compensation. But for someone like fellow Taoist Bai to actually use the same price as the ingenious workshop's magic treasures as compensation, this is the first time this old man has seen such a thing in the past 100 years. Junior only wanted to know how much this spirit armor was worth. Xiaohua said without hiding anything. I didn't really want to compensate that much. And this returning separation grass. This junior doesn't even recognize it. Ha 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 ha, the golden core cultivator laughed heartily. He patted Xiaohua's shoulder and said, Kid, you're quite interesting. I wouldn't dare. Xiaohua's face was very respectful. He wanted to hide but didn't dare to. Soon after, the golden core cultivator waved his hand and took out another golden triangular token and a jade slip. He handed it to Xiaohua and said with a smile, This jade slip records the method to refine and use the spirit armor. This token is this old man's personal token. Next time, you can take this token and come directly to this old man. This old man will give you priority in refining magic treasures. Xiaohua was overjoyed. He quickly took it and bowed. Thank you, Senior White. Haha, this old man is Xiaoqian. Remember this. The golden core cultivator transmitted his voice. Junior understands. Junior's name is Xiaohua. Xiaohua hurriedly transmitted his voice. This old man will remember. Xiaoqian nodded and said to Xiaoming, Take these 4 spirit herbs and 2 magic treasures. Help me send fellow Taoist Huang off. Xiaoming received the magic treasures and spirit herbs and said respectfully, Yes, martial uncle. See you off, Senior White. Xiaohua bowed and said. After Xiaoqian nodded and disappeared into the wall again, Xiaoming cupped his hands and said, Congratulations, fellow Taoist Huang. You actually obtained the favor of martial uncle I know of. This is the first time this has happened. Xiaohua scratched his head and said with a somewhat embarrassed expression, I was just speaking the truth. Haha, this world lacks cultivators like fellow Taoist Huang who speak the truth. Xiaoming sighed with emotion. and very politely sent Xiaohua out of the Qiao workshop. Xiaohua happily exited the craftsman workshop. He didn't go far and instead found an inn nearby. He opened a quiet room and began to refine the spirit armor. A few days later in the quiet room, although Xiaohua's face was extremely tired, he still had a happy expression. He cast the last spell on the spirit armor, and the spirit armor suddenly emitted an extremely brilliant cyan color. In the middle of the cyan color, there were 2 flashing balls of lightning. Next, Xiaohua bit the tip of his tongue and spat a drop of blood onto the spirit armor. After the spirit armor received the blood essence, it actually emitted a slight rumbling sound. After the rumbling sound passed, the spirit armor floated away and directly covered Xiaohua's body before disappearing. Damn, it really is a magic treasure. It deserves its reputation. Xiaohua sensed that there wasn't a trace of magic power left in his body, and very excitedly said with a smile, "Just refining it once consumed all of this young master's magic power. If this magic weapon can no longer protect this young master, then this young master's magic power and spiritual herbs would have been wasted." Soon after, Xiaohua took a medicinal pill and began to restore his magic power. The next morning, Xiaohua left the inn, and just as he was about to look for the spirit camel carriage, his gaze fell on the huge stone building not far away. It was the place where Xiaohua participated in the secret auction in Weeping Moon City last time. However, at this time the front of the building was empty and there was no one at all. It was a typical example of a deserted building. And the secret auction is held once every 3 years. It hasn't been 6 years yet. Who would come here? Xiaohua thought and turned around to leave. However, at this time, it was really a coincidence. A figure hurriedly walked out of the building and walked towards him. Seeing this person's face, Xiaohua smiled. This person was not an outsider but the master of the auction, Changfian. He was the one who gave Xiaohua the token to participate in the secret auction. Senior Chang. Xiaohua saw that Changfian was walking towards him and felt embarrassed to avoid him. He stood there and cupped his hands. "Oh, fellow Taoist." Changfian seemed to be used to it. He casually cupped his hands and glanced at Xiaohua before passing by. However, just as he passed by, he came to his senses and turned around in surprise. "You are that Junior Xiaohua? I met Senior Chang at the auction in Weeping Moon City 5 years ago." Xiaohua hurriedly said. Senior Chang didn't mind and even gave me a token as he spoke. Xiaohua glanced at the door of the secret auction. "Ha ha ha, that's right, that's right." Changfian was actually very happy. He actually reached out and patted Xiaohua's shoulder. This action was really inappropriate. No cultivator, unless it was their family or teacher, would let others touch their body, even if it was such an intimate action. And Kuanfian's sneak attack on Xiaohua, wasn't it just a seemingly unintentional pat? Xiaohua's expression changed when he saw this. He shrunk his shoulder and was about to dodge. Changfian also realized that his action was inappropriate. He quickly retracted his arm and took the opportunity to reach out with his other hand. Clasping his hands together, he cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, we haven't seen each other for many years. It seems that your cultivation has improved again." Xiaohua naturally cupped his hands and returned the greeting. He smiled apologetically and said, "Senior, thank you for your praise. Junior has been cultivating diligently. Unfortunately, fate didn't allow me to reach foundation establishment. I'm really helpless." Changfian smiled and said, "Foundation establishment isn't a problem. It's your cultivation potential. To be more direct, it's your Dao heart. If you have a Dao heart, then foundation establishment is just a small threshold. It's only a matter of time." Xiaohua smiled bitterly. That's what Junior thinks, but others don't think so. They've always wanted Junior to reach foundation establishment as soon as possible. They've never thought about Junior's future. Hee, fellow Taoist Xiao, you don't know how lucky you are. There are people who want you to reach foundation establishment, which means that there are people who care about you. If you reach foundation establishment and no one cares, then that's inappropriate. Changfian said very kindly. Xiaohua smiled and said, "Senior Chang's words are the truth of the world. Junior has received your teachings. I won't have any complaints in my heart. I'll immerse myself in cultivation and strive to reach foundation establishment as soon as possible. Good. Changfian nodded. With fellow Taoist Zhao's determination and the support of spiritual plants, foundation establishment shouldn't be a problem. Soon after, Changfian looked up and said with a smile, I wonder if fellow Taoist Zhao has some free time today? I just happen to have some things to discuss with fellow Taoist Zhao. Seeing that Changfian was talking with an aura refining cultivator for a long time, and was even talking about spiritual plants, Xiaohua already had a premonition in his heart. After hearing Changfian's invitation, he said very respectfully, I also want to return Senior Chang's favor from last time. Please come to the tea house in front for a chat. Good. Changfian was very satisfied with Xiaohua's attitude. Senior, this way please. Xiaohua said respectfully. After Changfian led Xiaohua to a nearby tea house, they entered a quiet room. Looking at the light flashing on the wall of the quiet room, Changfian clapped his hand. From the delicate teapot, a light red spiritual tea flew out and landed in the teacup in front of Xiaohua. I don't dare to trouble Senior Chang. Xiaohua's face was full of fear as he cupped his hands and said. Fellow Taoist Xiao Changfian poured tea into his own teacup. Then he picked up the teacup and signaled Xiaohua to drink. After drinking the tea himself, he sighed and said, Sai, I have something to ask of you today. Chapter 1798. Xiaohua finished the spiritual tea in his hand in one gulp. Hearing Changfian's words, he quickly put down the teacup and said with a smile, Senior Chang is really treating me as an outsider. Last time, I was only bidding for some spiritual herbs and received Senior's help, allowing me to participate in the secret auction to broaden my horizons. I have always wanted to repay Senior's thoughts of helping me. Today, I am able to meet Senior again. It is fate. If there is anything I can do, please tell me. A smile appeared on Changfian's face. I am ashamed. Last time, it was also my unintentional action. Sai, you also saw what happened last time. I was only in a hurry to find the traces of the cultivator who provided the flying sword, so I had no choice but to give the token of the secret auction to you. Senior, isn't this just drinking and pecking? The way of karma? Xiaohua said with a smile. Haha, that's right, that's right. Changfian clapped and said with a smile. Since fellow Xiao understands so clearly, I will not say anything more. Then, with some hesitation, some anxiousness, and some expectation, he asked, Fellow Xiao, that Ling Yicao of yours, did you sell it in the secret auction last time? It is indeed Ling Yicao. Xiaohua secretly nodded. Looking at Changfian's expression, he asked, Is it Senior Chang who needs this Ling Yicao? In that case, fellow Taoist did not sell it. Changfian said with wild joy. Xiaohua nodded and said, That's right. Although this junior participated in the secret auction 5 years ago, the items in the auction were all things that this junior had no use for, so this junior did not bid. Haha, great, great. Changfian said with a very excited smile. Fellow Taoist Xiao is indeed my lucky talisman. Last time I saw fellow Taoist Xiao, when I went to look for the flying sword, I had an idea. Seeing you again today has resolved the knot in my heart. Damn, I seem to have not agreed to give Ling Yicao to you. Xiaohua glanced at Changfian and thought very strangely. However, seeing Changfian so excited, Xiaohua's heart moved. He clapped his hand and took out the jade box containing Ling Yicao. He handed it to Changfian and said, This is the 2,000-year-old Ling Yicao. Please keep it well. When Changfian saw Xiaohua directly place Ling Yicao in front of him, he was instead stunned and even somewhat at a loss for what to do. He immediately lost the demeanor of a foundation establishment senior, and said somewhat stutteringly, Xiao, fellow Taoist Xiao, you're not afraid that this old man, and this old man seems to have yet to discuss with fellow Taoist, what to exchange, right? You're only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. I'm really not afraid of you. Xiaohua had dual cultivated with Fairy Hongxia for many years. He was very clear about the cultivation level of a foundation establishment middle stage cultivator. Naturally, he was not afraid that Changfian would do anything behind his back. He only said indifferently, This junior has already seen Senior Chang's demeanor. You spend your days dealing with rare and precious items. If it was a normal day, how could this Ling Yitzhao enter Senior's eyes? Didn't Senior not mention this at all last time? I reckon that Senior was in a hurry to find this Ling Yitzhao. Otherwise, what kind of item would the auction in Weeping Moon City not have? Xiao Hua did not mind, but his indifferent attitude really shocked Chang Fian. Chang Fian waved his hand and opened the Ling Yitzhao. He nodded and said, "This old man thought it was 1,000-year-old Ling Yitzhao. It's actually 2,000 years old. If I had exchanged this for the Qian Mo secret stone, it would really be a pity." As he spoke, he glanced at Xiao Hua and said, "This old man will accept it first?" "Senior, please." Xiao Hua nodded. After Chang Fian accepted the Ling Yitzhao, he let out a sigh of relief. With a calm expression, he drank another mouthful of spirit tea and said, "Nephew Zhao's magnanimity really exceeded this old man's expectations. This old man was just thinking about how to exchange for this Ling Yitzhao. Nephew Xiao actually gave it to this old man." Hearing that Chang Fian actually changed fellow Taoist Xiao to nephew Xiao, Xiao Hua was secretly happy and said, "This junior believes in Senior Chang. Sai, nephew Xiao, you are a cultivator. You must guard against others. In the future, you must not be like this." Chang Fian said sincerely. "Yes, this junior understands," Xiao Hua quickly said. Chang Fian looked at Xiao Hua and said with a smile, "This old man does not have any Qian Mo secret stone or gold leaf. That's why I did not dare to trade with nephew Xiao. I was afraid that nephew Xiao would not be satisfied. However, nephew Xiao's honesty has made this old man feel awkward." Soon after, Chang Fian's eyebrows slightly moved, as if he had made a decision. He continued, "However, since nephew Xiao thinks so highly of this old man cannot be stingy. And that's right. It was a good friend of my city lord who entrusted it to this old man." "What? Fairy to you as good friend?" Xiao Hua was stunned and said curiously, "Then isn't that a nascent soul cultivator?" Although he is a good friend of my city lord, this senior is not a nascent soul cultivator," Chang Fian said with a smile. "Moreover, it is not this senior's own matter. It is a descendant of Senior, who is about to condense his core. However, he does not have the confidence to condense his core and needs lingy grass. You also know that if it was a normal day, this lingy grass would not be considered much. This old man does not dare to boast. 1 or 2,000-year-old lingy grass would only need to spread the news for a few days, and we would definitely be able to obtain it. Moreover, this old man has also sent a message to 10,000 Flower Valley, 100 Herb Gate and other sects. However, just last night, that senior entrusted someone with a message, asking this old man to give the lingy grass to the person who came today. You say, isn't this a little too rushed? This old man had no choice but to come here early this morning, to see if there was any. Their situation is the same as mine. They do not have these. You also participated last time. They were not particularly interested in lingy grass. Who knew? This old man would actually meet nephew Xiao. This is nephew Xiao's fate, and also this old man's fate, Chang Fian said as he flipped his hand and took out a strange-looking jade pendant and handed it to Xiao Hua. What is this? Xiao Hua was slightly stunned. He took it and looked at it carefully. It did not seem to be anything strange. This is that senior's keepsake. Chang Fian's eyes shone with a strange light. He said, this old man originally wanted to keep it, but nephew Xiao is so honest that this old man blushed with shame. This item don't. Xiao Hua heard this and did not wait for Chang Fian to finish speaking. He immediately returned the jade pendant and said anxiously, this junior does not want to take advantage of others' difficulties. Since senior has a use for this item, how can this junior take it? Chang Fian had a look of understanding. He shook his head and said, since this old man has already given it away, I will definitely not take it back. Listen well. Soon after, Chang Fian actually transmitted a name to Xiao Hua and said, this is this senior's keepsake. A senior at the peak of the Gold Core realm promised. Nephew Xiao, you must not disappoint him. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for it. Chapter 1799. When Xiaohua heard that person's name, he was clearly a bit surprised. His knowledge of the cultivators on the Dawn Rain continent was only from the records in the Imperial Thunder Sect's library. He had also heard of the name of this Golden Core Stage cultivator. Since it was a favor from a Golden Core Stage cultivator, then it definitely couldn't be wrong. Thinking about the benefits that Zhenqing gave Xiaohua, not only was it a secret method to refine magic treasures, it was also the comprehension of condensing core. This was something that could never be exchanged with spirit stones. Since it's like this, Junior will also learn from Senior and not be pretentious. Xiaohua looked at the jade pendant. This was an unexpected surprise. He smiled and said to Changfian, Junior originally wanted to ask Senior for some information. Who knew? This is nephew Zhao's fate. Changfian nodded. After Xiaohua carefully put away the jade pendant, Changfian said again, what information does nephew Xiao want to know? If it's that Ming country's cultivator family, this old man won't tell you. I don't dare. Xiaohua smiled and said, Junior only wanted to ask about the pill formulas for Elaine pill and Huayuan pill. Where can they be found? Changfian's face was slightly stunned. He glanced at Xiaohua and smiled. Pill formulas naturally have to come from sects that have pill formulas. Just now, this old man seemed to have mentioned a certain sect. If nephew Xiao is interested, you can go there and take a look. However, these pill formulas can't be known to Foundation establishment stage cultivators. Nephew Xiao must be careful. Xiaohua thought for a moment, and immediately understood what Changfian was talking about. He smiled and said, Junior understands. Many thanks, Senior. Us cultivators must know our limits and know when to advance and retreat. When our cultivation is shallow, we must not do things that exceed our cultivation. Changfian reminded. Oh right, Senior Chang. Last time, the sword cultivator caused a huge ruckus during the auction. Last time, Senior wanted to look for traces of the flying sword. Just now, you said that you didn't find the flying sword and instead looked for the sword cultivator's whereabouts. What about the flying sword? Xiaohua asked again. If Senior has any taboo, then just treat it as Junior never asked. What taboo can there be? Changfian smiled and said. A year later, the flying sword you saw in the auction was finally bought by Duan Yeming, a sword cultivator from Huan country, with enough spirit stones. Other than them, no one else in the Dao sect would dare to bring this calamity upon themselves. And in order to gather enough spirit stones, these two sword cultivators had done many things. Although they did not dare to provoke the magnificent sect of the country of Xi, they did not care about the ordinary Dao sects. As a result, many cultivators are already complaining. Also, although I didn't manage to find the cultivator who came to my Weeping Moon City to sell his flying sword, I heard from one of the cultivators that he saw a sword cultivator flying towards the sword mound with his own eyes. And that sword cultivator is also a female cultivator. If I'm not mistaken, she's either Zhang Yutong or Zhang Yuha. Sword tomb? Xiaohua immediately thought of Yutong, thought of Huanhua sect, and thought to himself. Could it be? Huanhua sect is related to the disappearance of the sword Xiao? But on second thought, Zhang Yutong and Zhang Yuha had already been missing for several years. There was no need for Huanhua sect to go to the sword mound at this time. They might not be related to the missing sword Xiao. So he smiled and said, the sword mound is between Huan country and Xi country. It's normal for the sword Xiao to return from the direction of the sword mound, right? And it's normal. That's why it proves that the disappearance of the sword Xiao has nothing to do with the Dao sect of Xi country. Changfian smiled and said, they insisted on going through the sword mound. That place is extremely dangerous. Who knows where they died? But the problem is, the one who flew to the sword mound was a sword cultivator, not two. Xiaohua smiled bitterly and said, moreover, the sword cultivator's flying sword came to Weeping Moon City. That's right. Changfian shook his head. It's enough for me to find this piece of information. The city lord will have to consider the future matters. It's already good that I can do this for the city lord's good friend. At this point, Changfian stood up and said, Nephew Xiao, I have to go back early. The appointment with that person is at noon. It's about time now. In the future, when you come to Weeping Moon City, you must come and see me. Every time you come, you bring me good luck. Haha, of course, of course. Xiao Hua stood up to send him off. Chang Fian gave Xiao Hua a communication talisman and told him where he lived before leaving. Xiao Hua sent Chang Fian off and sat in the quiet room for a while. He smiled and said, Senior Chang has already said clearly that the clear flower pills pill formula is in the sect he mentioned just now. There's no need to think about the 100 Herbs sect. It must be in the 10,000 Flowers Valley. Moreover, it must be a cultivator above the foundation establishment stage. I'll slowly search for it in the future. There's still some time before I reach the foundation establishment stage. After that, Xiao Hua left the quiet room and paid the spirit stones. He didn't stay in Weeping Moon City and went to the teleportation formation in Weeping Moon City. He prepared to teleport to a town closer to the Imperial Thunder sect. Weeping Moon City was relatively remote, and the teleportation formation was different from other towns. There were actually 3 teleportation formations. However, the distance of each teleportation formation was different. Xiao Hua wanted to go to the Imperial Thunder sect in the south, so the teleportation formation he used was the one closest to the center. At the same time, because Weeping Moon City was surrounded by vast lands, there were many people using the teleportation formation. Xiao Hua didn't make an appointment like he did when he used the teleportation formation. He even waited in line to enter the teleportation formation's secret room. However, just before Xiao Hua entered the secret room, a very familiar face suddenly flashed in front of a teleportation formation's secret room on the left. Matched? Xiao Hua was stunned and thought to himself. He quickly scanned the room with his divine sense. However, this courtyard and the secret room were both protected by a teleportation formation. His divine sense was isolated. Fellow Taoist, please, the guard in the teleportation formation's secret room reminded him. Wait a moment. I just saw an old friend. I'll go and take a look. Xiao Hua quickly cupped his hands and signaled the cultivator behind him to go first. He quickly ran to the teleportation formation on the side. Unfortunately, when he ran to the teleportation formation's secret room, the door of the secret room was already closed. He had already entered the teleportation formation. This Xiao Hua pondered for a moment. He cupped his hands and said to the cultivator in front of the secret room, Fellow Taoist, may I ask where this teleportation formation leads to? Where to? The cultivator immediately looked at Xiao Hua with vigilance. Oh, it's like this. Just now, an old friend of I entered the teleportation formation. I haven't seen him for several years. Now that I've chased after him, he has already entered. I want to chase after him. And take a look. Xiao Hua didn't hide anything and said with a smile. So it's like this. The cultivator looked at the teleportation formation, and then looked at the cultivators around him. He said, the Weeping Moon City's teleportation formation is different from the other two. It teleports to the northeast of the country of Xi. The specific town isn't fixed. I should be going to a different place from the previous ones. Otherwise, I would have already been teleported there. I wouldn't be talking to fellow Taoist here. As for where the previous fellow Taoist was teleported to, if fellow Taoist wants to know, you can ask the guards of the teleportation formation. Presumably, fellow Taoist also knows, but they definitely won't tell you. The cultivator didn't speak, but when he spoke he seemed to have no clue. Xiao Hua quickly cupped his hands and said with a smile, Many thanks, fellow Taoist, many thanks, fellow Taoist. Then he returned to his own teleportation formation. He naturally knew that the guards wouldn't tell him, so he went to ask. I wonder how Tsong Yi is now. Xiao Hua used the Weeping Moon City's teleportation formation. First he was teleported to a remote town. Then he continued to teleport. When he came out of the last teleportation formation, and used the Bright Thunder escape to fly to the Imperial Thunder sect, he was still thinking, where is he cultivating? What about Fu Zhu and Fu Ba? Are they still with Tsong Yi? Alas, this Fu Yunbua is really hateful. He clearly knows that they are brother and sister, but he still secretly match-made them. This kind of sinister heart is really despicable. If I have time one day, I'll definitely go and tidy up Mount Jean. I'd better look for Tsongyi first. I still have the refining method of his family's ancestral talisman. If Tsongyi wants to establish his own sect, he won't be lacking these things. Xiao Hua thought of the soul-accumulating talisman and other talismans, as well as some cultivation methods. He thought of the time he spent with Tsongyi in Mount Jinhua. He thought of Tsongyi's revenge, Fuzhu and Fuba's beauty, and even Fuba's deep feelings for Tsongyi. Why are there so many 12th layer qi refining cultivators? Just as Xiao Hua was thinking about this, the divine sense he released suddenly detected some unusual movements in front of him. He quickly slowed down and flew at a normal speed. Not long after, he saw several disciples at the peak of the 12th layer of the qi refining realm, talking and laughing as they flew towards him. When the disciples saw Xiao Hua, they were first vigilant, then immediately shocked. One of the disciples with a delicate face and a slightly younger age stepped forward and cupped his hands. Junior martial brother, why did you come back after just leaving the mountain? Could it be that there's an unforeseen event ahead? Just leaving the mountain? Xiao Hua rubbed his nose and looked at these disciples with a puzzled expression. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Fellow Taoists, are you disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect? I just returned from my foundation establishment training." Of course, we are. The young disciple's mouth was quick, and he seemed to be very excited. He didn't wait for Xiao Hua to finish speaking before continuing. When he heard Xiao Hua's words, the disciple suddenly understood. He put on a surprised expression, and even pointed at Xiao Hua very impolitely. Senior martial brother isn't a disciple from this foundation establishment training. Junior martial brother Zhenyu greets senior martial brother. After saying that, Zhenyu realized he was being inappropriate and quickly cupped his hands in salute. The other disciples also understood and stepped forward to salute. However, this salute was only superficial. Their eyes were filled with excitement and longing, but there was also a hint of disdain and even contempt. Alas, it's time for another year of training. Xiao Hua sighed with emotion. Looking at these ambitious junior martial brothers and thinking about the 200 or so disciples from the various sects who died in Mingxue, he didn't put their expressions in his eyes. He only cupped his hands in salute and said with a smile, "Junior martial brothers, foundation establishment is indeed important, but there must be limits. Your life is the most important. I wish you all success in foundation establishment." Chapter 1800. Thank you for your kind words, senior brother. We will definitely enter the foundation establishment realm. Please wait for our good news at the Thunderclap Peak. Zhenyu looked at the disciples beside him and cupped his fists. At this moment, a red voice transmission talisman flew out from behind Zhenyu and rushed towards Xiao Hua. Who sent a voice transmission talisman? Xiao Hua was stunned. This isn't the place where voice transmission talismans can reach from the Imperial Lightning Sect, right? When Xiao Hua grabbed the voice transmission talisman and scanned it with his divine sense, he understood what was going on. Joy appeared on his face, and he clapped his hands without hesitation and took out a voice transmission talisman. However, under the influence of his magic power, the voice transmission talisman flew one round in the air and landed in Xiao Hua's hands. It didn't travel far. "Sai, look at me, I made a mistake." Xiao Hua slapped his forehead and took out a sound-transmitting talisman that he refined himself. Under the stimulation of his magic power, the sound-transmitting talisman whistled through the air and flashed with the sound of lightning as it flew towards the Imperial Thunder Sect. Seeing Xiao Hua use the lightning voice transmission technique, Zhenyu and the others no longer doubted Xiao Hua's identity as a disciple of the Imperial Lightning Sect. Xiao Hua looked at them and cupped his fists. "I haven't returned for many years. My senior brother actually still remembers. I sent a voice transmission talisman to me today. Yes, I think this senior brother came out to train again." Another disciple laughed. "Senior brother, you should go back and rest early. When you have the chance, you can come out to train again. We will take our leave." After saying that, Zhenyu and the others flew away. When they were far away, the disciple let out a laugh and said, "This senior brother is really interesting. He only returned after 5 years, And he still hasn't reached the foundation establishment stage yet. He doesn't feel embarrassed? If it was the last time, it would be better. Who knows, it might be the time before that, or the time before that. That's right, his senior brother also came out to train this time. He has no hope of coming out this time. Zhenyu frowned and said, something's not right. What's wrong? Why did this senior brother send 2 voice transmission talismans? The first one didn't succeed and the second one only succeeded. Think about it, the senior brother who first mentioned this senior brother seems to still be at the thunderclap peak of the Imperial Thunder sect, right? Could it be that when he sent out the second message, his senior martial brother had already reached the range of the sound transmission talisman? What's so strange about that? How could the sound transmitting talismans refined by aura refining disciples be the same as those refined by foundation building seniors and golden core seniors? The second sound transmitting talisman that this disciple sent out must have been refined by the seniors. But since this senior martial brother was able to obtain the sound transmitting talisman refined by the seniors, then he must be a disciple favored by the seniors. His aptitude is unquestionable. Why hasn't he reached foundation establishment? What does it have to do with us whether he reaches the foundation establishment stage or not? I've talked to him for a long time, but he didn't even dare to tell me his name. I'm afraid he's ashamed because he hasn't reached foundation establishment yet. I don't want to learn from him. That's right. When we go, we have to be discreet. If nothing unexpected happens, we'll definitely reach foundation establishment after obtaining that item. As they spoke, Zhenyu and the others' eyes burned with passion. Their flying speed increased by several degrees. What was the difference between this situation and 5 years ago when Sun Shu, Kuan Fian, and Qian Diheng had just left the Imperial Thunder sect? Back in Sun Lei Palace, the lightning sound transmitting talisman that Qian Diheng unintentionally sent out actually turned into a scarlet ray of light. It flashed with faint lightning as it rushed out of the quiet room. Qian Diheng and the other 2 revealed strange expressions. Damn it, could it be that Xiaohua didn't die? Qian Diheng cried out in astonishment. Isn't it obvious? If Xiaohua died, how could this sound-transmitting talisman fly out? Sun Shu said with a smile. Shue's snow-white face unexpectedly didn't have the slightest trace of blood. Without thinking, she sent out another sound-transmitting talisman. Like before, that sound-transmitting talisman circled in the air before falling down. Shue's face was full of confusion. Junior Martial Sister, that sound-transmitting talisman of yours is an ordinary sound-transmitting talisman. The lightning sound-transmitting talisman in Junior Martial Brother Qian's hand was personally refined by Junior Martial Brother Xiao, so it's a bit different. Sun Shu immediately understood and promptly explained. Who cares about the difference? Let's hurry out and go to the mountain gate to welcome that guy. Qian Diheng shouted. However, just as the 3 of them left the quiet room, they ran into a 10th layer Qi refining disciple. That disciple was very happy to see Sun Shu and the others. He smiled and said, Senior Martial Sister Sun, Senior Martial Sister Shui, Senior Martial Sister Yuan Bu Yuan, Senior Martial Sister Min Gu Min, and Senior Martial Sister Wang Yinxiao have come to visit. Please hurry over. Motherfucker, are these 2 things done yet? Qian Diheng gnashed his teeth and said, they come to visit every few days. This kind of hypocrisy, do they still want people to live? Then he stomped his feet and cursed, this damned heaven, how can it be so unfair? How can these 2 messy things obtain a fortuitous opportunity? Can they just go out and train casually and reach foundation establishment? I've worked so hard. How come I can't even see a trace of foundation establishment? The disciple who sent the message covered his mouth with his hand and hurriedly ran away. I go. No matter what, they're still foundation establishment seniors. Sun Shu shook her head slightly. Fortunately, just as Sun Shu and the others left, they ran into Wang Yunxiao and the others who were waiting for them. Sun Shu and the others bowed and said, Greetings 3 seniors. Don't. Wang Yunxiao hurriedly flicked his sleeve and said in a panic. You and I were originally fellow disciples. We were only lucky enough to take half a step forward. In the future, when the other senior martial brothers catch up, we'll still have to call each other brothers. Don't mention the word senior. Shui looked at Mingu and sneered. We're Qi refining disciples. How can we not call foundation establishment senior? May I know why you three seniors are here? If there's nothing important, Junior still has things to do outside. It's nothing. We just heard that Junior Marshall Sisters' cultivation has improved again. Although we can't go out to train now, foundation establishment is sooner or later, so we came to visit. Mingu, who was extremely conceited after reaching foundation establishment, answered confidently. Oh, in that case, there's no need for Senior Min to worry. Shui said bluntly. Junior has never worried about foundation establishment. Senior, please go back. Junior Marshall Sister Sun, where are you going? Does Marshall Uncle Sun have something to tell us? Yuanbo asked with a smile. It's nothing. It's just that Xiaohua is coming back. We're going to welcome him. Without waiting for Sun Shu to speak, Qian Diheng said coldly. Hearing the two words Xiaohua, Wang Yinxiao and the others were startled and even happy. What? Xiaohua? He actually didn't die? He's coming back today? Senior's age doesn't seem to have reached the age of senility. Qian Diheng sneered. Why can't you hear Junior's words? Xiaohua is coming back today. We're going to welcome him at the mountain gate. Haha, great. We all joined the Imperial Thunder sect at the same time. We should also go welcome him. Wang Yunxiao clapped and laughed. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote. Chapter 1801. Xiaohua is only an aura refining disciple. He doesn't dare to trouble a foundation establishment senior. Shui said indifferently. Her indifference and the faint meaning of my Xiaohua entered Min Jiyi's ears. His heart was filled with hatred. Of course not. Maybe junior brother Xiao is already a foundation establishment cultivator. We can go and congratulate him. Yuanbo said with a sinister smile. How could there be a trace of joy in his voice? Then please go ahead. Qian Diheng sneered and took the lead to fly towards the thunder controlling sect. At this time, on the mountain path of the thunder controlling sect, just like 5 years ago, many 12th layer aura refining disciples came out to gain experience. Qian Diheng and the others were familiar with some, but there were also many unfamiliar faces. When they saw Sun Shu and the others standing next to the pavilion, they were curious and looked over from time to time. Shui and the others were looking at the mountain path in the distance, waiting for Xiaohua's figure to appear on the mountain path. Wang Yunxiao and the other two also stood at the side of the guest pavilion. They looked at each other, and in their hearts, there was an indescribable feeling. They all thought that Xiaohua had died in the foundation establishment experiential learning 5 years ago. They didn't expect that he would suddenly appear now. But when they thought about the fact that Xiaohua had already built his foundation, they wanted to show off and see if Xiaohua had really built his foundation. Of course, they also understood that since Xiaohua had failed to build his foundation once, the possibility of him building his foundation again in these 5 years was really too small. This was also the main reason they came here to wait. However, after waiting for more than half a day, the number of aura refining disciples who came to visit Qian Diheng made the 3 of them restless, but they still didn't see Xiaohua return. While the 3 of them were hesitating, a sound-transmitting talisman flew back and landed in front of Qian Diheng. Qian Diheng grabbed it and laughed. Ha ha ha, Xiaohua is really alive. He's rushing back. Good. Sun Shu smiled like a flower. Shui was also jubilant. She was even more charming and moving. Xiaohua, has he built his foundation? Mingu asked tentatively, jealousy rising in his heart. Who knows? Qian Diheng said unhappily. Junior and the others were waiting for junior brother. We never thought we were waiting for a foundation establishment senior. Forget it. Wang Yunxiao smiled and said, since you all have such a deep brotherly relationship, we won't disturb you here. After junior brother Xiao returns, we'll go to the Myriad Thunder Valley to visit again. Seniors, take care. We aura refinement cultivators won't be seeing you off. Qian Diheng looked at the backs of Wang Yunxiao and the others as they walked back. He screamed and pretended to salute. Then he looked at the end of the mountain path and frowned. Xiaohua, this guy, his flying speed is very fast. Why hasn't he arrived yet? Could it be that he encountered something again? Hearing Qian Diheng's words, Shui and Sun Shu's hearts were filled with anxiety. They had no one to rely on, so they could only watch helplessly. Next, Xiaohua utilized his flight technique to fly all the way back to Lightning Controlling Sect. Along the way, he encountered a good number of disciples from Lightning Controlling Sect. However, Xiaohua did not stop there. He simply cupped his fists to greet them. Seeing that he was a young cultivator with the same cultivation base as them, the disciples from Lightning Controlling Sect assumed that he was their junior brother. It would appear that they did not care about him. The doubts in their hearts were insignificant compared to the excitement and apprehension they felt from going out for training. Thus, they simply nodded. However, this kind of flight delayed Xiaohua's journey. It was not until dusk that he arrived at Mount Lema. The scorched yellow soil of Mount Lema looked abnormally bloody under the afterglow of the setting sun. It gave birth to a feeling of horror. At this time, on the mountain range, there were still a few disciples at the peak of the 12th layer of the Qi refining realm walking down the mountain path. However, on the mountain path near the reception pavilion, 1 male and 2 female disciples were also at the 12th layer of the Qi refining realm. They raised their necks and kept looking down the mountain. They were not in a hurry to go down the mountain. This attracted the attention of many disciples who were going out for training. Damn it, what are you looking at? Qian Diheng glanced at them for the nth time and said angrily, I am here waiting for someone. I have no intention of going out for training. If you look at me again, I will ask your master to send you back to the mountain right now. The disciple who was scolded was furious at first, but after hearing Qian Diheng's words, he immediately shrank his neck and did not dare to speak. He quickly walked down the mountain. Naturally, the disciples who heard him did not dare to look again. However, the disciples who went down the mountain later still wanted to look. Damn it, this junior brother Xiao, what's wrong with him? It has been a long time since he sent the message. Why hasn't he come back yet? Qian Diheng was impatient. According to his flying technique, he should be back by noon. Could it be that something happened to him on the way? Junior brother Qian. Seeing Qian Diheng saying the same thing many times, Sun Shu glared at Qian Diheng and scolded. He is already in the territory of my Imperial Thunder Sect. What other problems can there be? TCH Senior Sister Sun, don't forget the last time we went out for training. We encountered something as soon as we left Mount Lema. Qian Diheng retorted. With so many disciples going out for training, Xiaohua's flying speed is very slow. Shue's snow-white face was tinged with a hint of red. Her eyes were filled with surprise, expectation, longing and a touch of sorrow. Sun Shu looked at Shui and was very surprised. After they saw that Qian Diheng's message was strange, they immediately flew out of Sun Lei Palace with the message. The message naturally flew away, but they could only stop at Mount Lema. Shui's expression was beyond her expectations. Needless to say, surprise and expectation were the same as her heart. However, she could not figure out that trace of sorrow. However, looking at Shui's natural longing, Sun Shu's heart could not help but feel sour. It was actually a kind of narcissism and an unspeakable jealousy. Ha ha ha, this guy really came back. When Qian Diheng anxiously wanted to send another summoning talisman, he suddenly saw Xiaohua's thin and tall figure going up the mountain path. Qian Diheng immediately jumped up from the ground and rushed down. Sun Shu was also overjoyed. Just as she was about to rush down, she saw Shui biting her cherry lips with her pearly white teeth and clenching her fists. She slowly walked down the mountain path. As long as she slowed down, that kind of uncontrollable joy made Sun Shu tremble slightly. Junior brother Qian Diheng rushed forward and opened his arms to hug Xiaohua. This was an extremely normal action. During the experiential learning, Qian Diheng did not know how many times he had hugged Xiaohua. However, when Qian Diheng opened his arms, Xiaohua frowned. Earlier in the workshop, the gold core practitioner Xiaoqian raised her hand and patted Xiaohua's shoulder. It was not that Xiaohua did not want to dodge, but Xiaoqian was a gold core practitioner. Xiaohua did not dare to dodge, and also knew that there was no need to. When he met Changfian on the streets of Weeping Moon City, Changfian also patted Xiaohua like an elder. That was definitely his expression of wild joy when he saw Xiaohua, just like when he saw Ling Yizhao. Xiaohua dodged without a trace. And now Qian Diheng, seeing Xiaohua's frown, Qian Diheng instantly thought of Kuan Fei Yan. Didn't Kuan Fei Yan take advantage of Xiaohua's inattention to pat him? Qian Diheng's body stiffened first. That joy had long been reduced by 30%. His arms just stopped there, rather awkward. Ha ha. At this time, Xiaohua laughed loudly. His brows relaxed, and he took the initiative to hug Qian Diheng's shoulder. His hands patted his back, and he said, "Senior brother, how come it's been 5 years again? You still haven't built your foundation?" Immediately, a warm current rushed into Qian Diheng's eyes. Qian Diheng's eyes were filled with tears. His hands also firmly hugged Xiaohua's still thin shoulders, and he patted him hard. He said, You haven't even built your foundation. How can I dare to walk in front of you?" His voice was almost choked with sobs. Xiaohua's heart was warm, and an indescribable joy filled his heart. When Qian Diheng released Xiaohua, Shui and Sun Shu also walked in front of him. Sun Shu pressed his lips, which were already pale. Sun Shu's eyes were abnormally sparkling and translucent. Facing the afterglow of the setting sun, it could actually reflect a fine 5 colors. Sun Shu cupped his hands, his spotlessly white jade-like arms slightly trembling. "Junior brother Xiao, congratulations on your return." Sun Shu's words were out of her own expectations. Before she could finish, tears flowed out. Sun Shu hurriedly raised her sleeve to cover it up, and hid to the side. Shui stood beside Sun Shu. Since coming down from the mountain path, her gaze had been fixed on Xiaohua's face, and she didn't even move away. At this time, she looked straight into Xiaohua's eyes and didn't say a word. "Shui, I'm back." Xiaohua never thought that his meeting with Shui would be so awkward, and his heart was slightly weak. You still know to come back." Shui's words were out of Xiaohua's expectations. But these words were also filled with hidden bitterness, longing, and incomparable concern. Xiaohua didn't know what to say. Shui just said one word, and her whole body flew, and like a swallow entering its nest, she threw herself into Xiaohua's arms. Her warm body hugged Xiaohua tightly, and Xiaohua's phoenix body that had been tempered for a long time actually couldn't breathe. Sigh, Xiaohua sighed in his heart, and a kind of guilt grew in his heart. He opened his arms and also tightly hugged Shui's delicate body. For a moment, the entire mountain path was silent, and only the sound of the wind could be heard. The afterglow accompanied the two people, accompanied by the joy of reuniting after a long time. Granny Qian Diheng sniffed, and looked to the side. Seeing that there were still some disciples looking curiously on the mountain path, he angrily said, "Haven't you seen martial brothers after a long time? Haven't you seen dual cultivation partners being intimate? Get lost, hurry down the mountain and go build your foundation." Xiaohua Shui buried her face in Xiaohua's chest. An incomparable joy gushed out from her heart. But after the joy, there was a kind of sadness. The tears of joy that gushed out of Xiaohua's Taoist robe were wet, and at this moment, the sad tears gushed out like water from a broken dam. It was as if the 6 years of worry and the 5 years of grief were all vented out. Very quickly, Xiaohua's chest was drenched in sweat. Suddenly, Shui raised her neck and bit Xiaohua's neck, and that strength was extremely fierce. Ouch! Xiaohua was stunned, and hurriedly cried out in pain. Shui, the pain is killing your husband." Chapter 1802. Who asked you to come back so late? Who asked you not to send a message? Who asked you to woo? Shui's face was red and hot as she gnashed her teeth. But before she could finish, Xiaohua lowered his head and kissed Shui's lips. Shui stammered and could no longer speak. Her body struggled for a moment, but soon after, she complied with Xiaohua. Seeing this, Sun Shu bit her cherry lips and pulled Qian Diheng, who was berating the surrounding disciples, to walk up the mountain path. This guy Qian Diheng's face was full of envy. He smacked his lips and followed Sun Shu. Shui kissed Xiaohua for a moment and suddenly realized something. She wanted to push Xiaohua away and said sternly, "Xiaohua, who have you been hanging out with these past few years?" Xiaohua was stunned. Soon after, he understood that Shui had felt the intimacy between him and Fairy Hongxia from his kiss. He sighed in his heart that female cultivators were sensitive. He exerted force to prevent Shui from leaving his embrace and said in a low voice, "Who can I be with? You only need to think about it to know." Shui was ashamed and angry, but looking at Xiaohua's calm eyes and calm expression, she said almost without thinking, "What? You are actually together with Fairy Hongxia?" Xiaohua looked up and transmitted his voice. "Shui, this matter cannot be said lightly. I will explain it to you later." Shui's heart lightened, but her face immediately turned pale again. She forced a smile and said, "I know. Since it is with Sister Hongxia, what can I complain about? It's just that you are too cruel. In these 5 years, did you not think of me at all? Did you not think of telling me?" "It's all my fault," Xiaohua said in a low voice. "I really can't send a message. However, Fairy Hongxia already knows about your matter." You told her?" Shui's face immediately revealed a kind of shyness and surprise. She even asked with some expectation, "Sister, what did she say?" She is naturally your sister." Xiaohua smiled and kissed Shui's red lips again. Shui's body immediately heated up. Her extremely strong response actually made Xiaohua a little restless. However, this passionate kiss only lasted for a moment before Shui came to her senses and bit down on Xiaohua's teeth. Ouch! Xiaohua could not help but cry out in pain. What have you been doing with Fairy Hongxia for the past 5 years?" Shui spoke softly before sending a voice transmission. Xiaohua's smile became even wider. He quietly pinched Shui's waist and said in a low voice, "Naturally, we will do it together in the future." "You bastard." Shui was abnormally bashful, her hand similarly pinching Xiaohua's waist. Her action was no different from Fairy Hongxia's. However, at the same time that Shui was abnormally shy, that unconcealable worry still loomed in Shui's eyes. After a long while, Xiaohua held Shui's hand and slowly walked up the mountain path. Cough cough that. The sunset is so beautiful. Senior son, we still have to appreciate it. When Qian Diheng saw Xiaohua and Shui coming up, he coughed twice and pretended to admire the scenery. He raised his eyes and looked at the rosy clouds in the west. Senior brother Qian, it's been a few years since we last met. You're still as elegant as ever. Junior brother really admires you." Xiaohua did not want to let go of Shui's hand, but there were still qi refining disciples coming down the mountain and looking at Shui and Xiaohua. Even though Shui was straightforward, she could not help but pull her hand out. Xiaohua had no choice but to let go and immediately cupped his hands. "Ba, admire my ass." Qian Diheng immediately revealed his true nature. He scolded with a smile. "I don't know where you hid to cultivate for 5 years. If you knew, you would have come back long ago." Junior brother's experience was really dangerous. There were many secrets of others. Please allow junior brother to choose his words. Perhaps in the future, we will have a chance to talk about it," Xiaohua said with a smile. Sun Shu quickly waved her hand and said, "No need to talk about it, no need to talk about it. We are already happy that junior brother Xiao can come back safely. Moreover, junior brother encountered such a disaster. I also have some responsibility. Haha, senior son, that matter was definitely not what senior sister wanted. Junior brother is not blind, how could he not see it?" Xiaohua also said with a smile, "Let's not talk about that matter." That's right," Qian Diheng said dejectedly. "Although we are determined to seek justice for junior brother Xiao, but things are contrary to our wishes." Xiaohua smiled but did not say anything. Back in the Valley of Ice, Fairy Hongxia had already analyzed this matter thoroughly. Unless Kuanfian was reborn, unless Kuanfian used the soul-searching technique on Kuanfian, there would definitely be no results. Qian Diheng's answer was also not out of their expectations. "Oh right." Qian Diheng suddenly remembered something happy. His previous dejection was swept away and he said with a smile, "Last time, although we did not build foundation, it was not that we did not gain anything." What did you gain?" Xiaohua was stunned. "You don't need to ask us about this. Just ask Shui." Sun Shu said with a smile. Xiao Hua could only look at Xue Xue, who was silently beside him. She was so happy that her soul seemed to have left her body. Xue Xue took out her storage pouch and handed it over. She said with a smile, "This is your harvest from last time." Senior Sun and senior brother Qian did not want to take it alone, and insisted on leaving your share with me. Is that so? Xiao Hua was still puzzled. He could not think of what great harvest he, Sun Shu and the others had from last time's training. It was actually worth it for Xue Xue to take it. When Xiao Hua opened the storage pouch and scanned it with his divine sense, his face changed greatly. This? Where did it come from? Why so much? Hee. Qian Diheng liked to see Xiao Hua's surprise and said in a low voice, "Did junior brother Xiao forget?" The 3 sect's disciples blocking Mingxi were single-handedly broken through by junior brother Xiao. Oh, I understand. Xiao Hua was enlightened. The expression on his face was extremely strange. He sighed and said, So it was theirs. Yes, just right. Sun Shu nodded and said, The rule of our Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples is that if it does not involve grudges between sects, all magic tools, spirit stones, pills and other things belong to the disciples. There is no need to report to the sect. If it involves grudges between sects, the disciples have the right to keep 60% of all the items. Here is that. 60%. Looking at the storage pouch in his hand and the countless spirit stones and pills in it, Xiao Hua's heart surged with a burst of warmth and incomparable confidence. His heart that was hurt by Kuan-Fian had a trace of comfort. I'm afraid this is everything, Xiao Hua said with a smile. It's not just junior brother's 30%. Hee, that's not it. Qian Diheng said with a smile. What we needed, we naturally took, especially the magic tools and other things. Moreover, cultivation methods and other things have to be handed over to the sect. Some of the spirit stones and pills here were exchanged for cultivation methods and other things. That's still a lot more than junior brother's 30%. Let's divide it equally between the 3 of us. Xiao Hua waved his hand and was about to hand over the storage pouch. Chapter 1803. Seeing Xiao Hua like this, Qian Diheng's expression immediately changed. He angrily said, Xiao Hua, you underestimate me too much. Although my cultivation isn't as deep as yours, I'm not much inferior to you in terms of reasoning. Last time, I relied on you to support me, and in the end, you were the one who fell into the wind tunnel of the netherworld wind. If I split it with you, wouldn't I also have to split my face equally? Do you still want me to see you in the future? Soon after, he said with a sinister smile, If you really don't want to see me in the future, then let's split this thing today. As he spoke, he made a gesture of reaching for the storage bag. Ha ha ha, you bastard. Where did you learn from me? I feel like you're a foundation establishment senior. Xiao Hua laughed loudly. He pulled back his hand and put the storage bag into his bosom. Sun Shu didn't say anything. Looking at the two, her eyes were filled with warmth. I also forgot. Xiao Hua smiled. He also patted his forehead and said, I still haven't had the chance to give you the thing I got from the netherworld wind. I hope it's not too late now. What else do you have? Qian Diheng was stunned and turned to look at Sun Shu. Sun Shu was naturally also surprised. When Xiao Hua mysteriously handed the Zhongyao milk to the two seemed to have a premonition and asked nervously almost at the same time. This hee. Xiao Hua gave the jade bottle to the two and said with a smile, Take a look for yourself. Qian Diheng opened the jade bottle and was the first to jump up. But just as he said it, he felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly stuffed it into his storage bag. While his body was still in the air, he shouted, Xiao Hua, you bastard, really? How do you want me to AI? How do I say this? Qian Diheng was so happy that he couldn't say a complete sentence. He even stuttered a little. Anyone who suddenly saw something that they had already given up 5 years ago would be like this. On the other hand, Sun Shu was different. She didn't put the jade bottle into her storage pouch. Instead, she glanced at Xue Xue beside Xiao Hua, sighed, and handed the jade bottle back. She shook her head and said, Xiao Hua, if this thing was taken out in the dark, I would naturally accept it without hesitation. But for you to take it out now, I'm afraid that you've risked your life in exchange for it. It's already gone beyond our agreement. I cannot accept it. You should use it yourself or give it to junior sister Shui. There was some reluctance in Sun Shu's eyes, but his expression was resolute. Xiao Hua stared at the jade bottle in Sun Shu's hand. It seemed that Sun Shu had not only given him Zhong Yao's milk, but also Sun Shu's sincerity. Xiao Hua smiled as he clapped his hands again, taking out another jade bottle, handing it over to Shui, saying with a smile, "This thing originally belonged to Kuan Fian. This little brother originally wanted to secretly give it to Shui. Look at you all, forcing this little brother to give it to her face. I'm really speechless." As he spoke, he actually rubbed his nose with a bitter look on his face. You should have said so earlier," Sun Shu snorted, rolling his eyes at Xiao Hua strangely. With a flip of his hand, the jade bottle immediately disappeared. "Xiao Hua, what is this?" Shui took the jade bottle, rather puzzled, and asked in a low voice. Xiao Hua put his index finger to his mouth and said in a low voice, "Keep this thing well. Go back and secretly ask senior sister Shui how to use it. Don't even mention a word to others." Really? Shui was extremely intelligent. How could she not know? She immediately kept the jade bottle well, and asked in a very pleasantly surprised manner. That's right." Sun Shu walked in front of Shui and whispered in her ear, "With this thing, junior sister will definitely reach foundation establishment within 5 years. You're so good." Shui sweetly looked at Xiao Hua and said, "Don't tell me you didn't keep it for yourself?" Seeing Xiao Hua take out 3 drops of Zhong Yao milk at once, Qian Dihing asked in a low voice. Xiao Hua blinked and said with a smile, "Am I that kind of person?" "I don't think so," Qian Dihing said with a smile. "You're much more stingy than me, even if I am, you're not." "Can't you not be so blunt?" Xiao Hua replied in a bad mood. Little junior brother?" Just when everyone was feeling warm and comfortable, a familiar voice of Xiao Hua suddenly called out in a very pleasantly surprised manner. "Eldest senior brother?" Xiao Hua hurriedly turned his head. Of course, at the head of the mountain path, Xiangyang had just appeared. Looking at Xiao Hua's back, an inconceivable expression appeared on his face. "Junior brother Xiaoyu, when did you return to the mountain? Why didn't you send a message to master or elder brother?" Xiangyang said somewhat reproachfully. Moreover, he kept giving Xiao Hua a meaningful glance. Xiao Hua was somewhat puzzled, and Shui's face was also somewhat unnatural. She said in a low voice, "Xiao Hua, your master at this time," a cold voice said again. He hasn't reached foundation establishment after 5 years of experiential learning. Naturally, he doesn't have the face to send a message. "Xiao Hua, since you haven't reached foundation establishment yet, why did you come back?" "Master." Xiao Hua was very happy. He didn't care about Xiangyang's coldness and quickly walked up the mountain path to welcome him. Shui and the others glanced at each other, then followed Xiao Hua forward. However, after taking a few steps, Xiao Hua's face showed doubt. He saw Xiangyang walking behind Xiangyang, but the person behind Xiangyang wasn't Yan Qinglian or Zhuo Minghui, but a young cultivator. That cultivator had a well-built body, a fair complexion, and an incomparably handsome face. He had a perfectly straight nose, slanted sword-like eyebrows, and a pair of bright and spirited eyes that revealed an indescribable arrogance and incomparable confidence. This is Xiao Hua sized up this cultivator, and this cultivator also looked at Xiao Hua. Unlike Xiao Hua's curiosity, this cultivator's gaze was disdainful, and even somewhat hostile. "Hongshan, come over and greet me. This is second senior brother Xiao Hua, whom master often talks to you about," Xiangyang said with a smile, a doting expression on his face. "Yes, disciple understands." That cultivator smiled apologetically and said, "Disciple will definitely take master's admonition as a warning and cultivate diligently. After this experiential learning, I'll definitely be able to build my foundation." Soon after, that disciple took a few steps forward, cupped his hands and saluted, saying, "Junior Di Hongshan greets second senior brother." Seeing that Di Hongshan actually didn't bow, Xiaohua was already displeased in his heart. He stepped forward and returned the salute saying, I don't dare, I don't dare. How can I, an aura-refining cultivator, who hasn't built my foundation for a long time, receive such great courtesy from junior brother Cui? Since you know you don't have any face, then don't come back and disgrace yourself. It's better to cultivate outside the sect. Xiangyang said coldly. I remember someone saying that he wouldn't come back until he built his foundation. Why did he suddenly go back on his words? Xiaohua felt bitter in his mouth. He didn't seem to have said such a thing, right? Master, Xiangyang said in a low voice. Junior brother Xiao barely escaped death and came back, and junior brother Cui just so happened to go out for experiential learning. Master should be happy. Happy my ass. Xiangyang cursed helplessly. One failed to build his foundation and took 50 years to build his foundation. The other failed and didn't build his foundation for 10 years. What's there for me to be happy about? Now I've finally accepted a disciple who's capable enough to build his foundation after cultivating for less than 5 years. Unfortunately, I haven't even left the sect, and I've already met someone who failed to build his foundation. Isn't this a bad omen? I already said that I'd leave earlier, but your master's wife insisted on telling me to go here and there. Master, you should be well aware of this disciple's aptitude and cultivation level. I definitely won't be affected by such external things. Di Hongshan said extremely conceitedly. I like your confidence. Xiangyang said with a beaming smile. Seeing Xiangyang treat Xiaohua like this, Sun Shu and the others felt sad in their hearts. Now that they had some free time, they hurriedly went forward to pay their respects. Xiangyang saw Shueishue's expression become even more gloomy, but he didn't dare to flare up. He only waved his hand and said, although you all failed to build your foundation, you shouldn't be discouraged. You should continue to work hard. After saying a few words, he didn't want to say anything else. He turned his head and scolded Xiaohua. You little bastard, instead of cultivating properly, you only thought about dual cultivation. You provoked Shueishue, and even had wishful thinking about Huanhua Sect's female disciple. Why don't you take a look at your own cultivation level? Master Xiangyang looked at Shueishue. He was afraid that Xiaohua would lose face in front of Shueishue, so he hurriedly stopped him. Xiangyang snorted, and turned his head to look at the already gloomy sky. Qian Diheng sneered and bowed. Disciple thanks martial uncle Xiangyang for his teachings. I'll definitely remember it. Finished speaking, he nodded toward Xiaohua and walked away. Sun Shu and Shueishue also bowed and winked at Xiaohua before also walking away. After waiting for the 3 people to leave, Xiaohua sighed and clapped his hand. He took out a jade bottle from his space and handed it over, saying, Junior Martial Brother Cui, this is the first time we've met. I also don't have anything good. This is a foundation establishment pill. I asked Junior Martial Brother Cui to accept it. I wish Junior Martial Brother Cui success in establishing your foundation. Xiaohua did this out of consideration for the friendship between fellow disciples. He thought of how Zhuo Minghui and Yan Qinglian treated him that year. Unexpectedly, Di Hongshan flicked his sleeve and proudly said, I have enough foundation establishment pills. There's no need to trouble Senior Martial Brother Xiao. Moreover, my Chuan Yu Chui family has never accepted favors from others. Although I'm now a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect, I still have to follow the teachings of my ancestors. I ask Senior Martial Brother Xiao to take it back. Xiaohua was stunned. The foundation establishment pill in his hand awkwardly hung in the air. Di Hongshan didn't seem to give Xiaohua any face. He said again, Besides, I'm afraid Senior Martial Brother Xiao needs this more. How can I take Senior Martial Brother Xiao's favor? Ha ha ha, Xiaohua didn't get angry. Instead he laughed. He withdrew his hand and stored the foundation establishment pill into his space. He said with a smile, That's right, that's right. I've made too many mistakes. I'm just an aura refining disciple who failed to build my foundation. How could I possibly have something that Junior Martial Brother Cui values? I'm really. Seeing Xiaohua take out the foundation establishment pill, Xiaohua helplessly thought of the spiritual plants Xiaohua gave him and the spiritual plants he gave to Xiangyang. Xiaohua's expression eased a bit. However, when he looked at Xiaohua's aura refining cultivation, His expression once again turned gloomy. He waved his hand and said, "Medicinal pills, spiritual plants, they're all external objects. They have nothing to do with one's realm or cultivation. If you place your heart on those things, you'll forever be an aura-refining disciple. You'll never be able to truly become a cultivator." "Yes, disciple understands." Xiaohua secretly sighed and bowed in response. Di Hongshan shot a glance at Xiaohua. He also bowed and said, "Disciple understands. I'll definitely learn from the mistakes of others, and not take the detours of others." Chapter 1804. When Di Hongshan went down the mountain, the sky was already dark. According to Xiaohua's thoughts, it would be better to leave the next morning. But thinking about what Helpless said just now, Xiaohua immediately shut his mouth. Maybe this was the auspicious time Helpless was talking about. When Di Hongshan's figure disappeared, Helpless immediately turned around and left without waiting for Xiaohua to speak, completely ignoring Xiaohua. Only Xiang Yang's face was filled with helplessness as he looked at Xiaohua with a bitter smile. "Greetings, eldest senior brother." Xiaohua bowed again. "Sai Xiao. Junior brother Xiao." Xiang Yang returned the greeting and said, "Congratulations on returning safely. Let's go. Master's wife and your senior sister miss you very much. Your senior sister has been talking about you many times, saying that you are blessed with good fortune, and will definitely be fine. If she sees you return, she will definitely be overjoyed." Then he said in a low voice, "Actually, Master is also sad, but senior brother, there's no need to say any more." Xiaohua's expression was very calm as he waved his hand and said, "Let's hurry and pay respects to Master's wife." "Good." Xiang Yang raised his hand and pulled Xiaohua's hand as they walked up the mountain path. Then, using the flying technique, they flew towards the 10,000 Thunder Valley. On the way, Xiang Yang recounted everything that happened in the 10,000 Thunder Valley in the past 6 years. When Xiaohua just left the Imperial Thunder Sect to train, Helpless once again found a disciple with a lightning physique from the disciples recruited by the Zhenlei Palace. This disciple was Di Hongshan, and also the disciple that Helpless was looking for. And Di Hongshan's aptitude was indeed very good. When he just entered the Imperial Thunder Sect, he was only at the beginning of Qi refining stage 11, but in just 6 years, he actually cultivated to the late stage of Qi refining stage 12, causing Helpless to go wild with joy. Just when Helpless thought that he had picked up a peerless genius, he discovered that not only Di Hongshan, many other disciples from other families also performed so amazingly. And correspondingly, the remaining disciples' performances were barely satisfactory. They were even worse than Xiaohua in Helpless' eyes, and even the disciples with the most ordinary aptitudes in the past were worse. Of course, the grievous news of Xiaohua's death came from Sun Shu and the others during the second year. He went out to train. Helpless naturally knew how powerful Ming Xi's wind of the netherworld was. Since Xiaohua had fallen into the wind tunnel, there was no way he could have survived. Helpless naturally hated Kuanfian for plotting against him, but he was powerless against Kuanfian's teacher from the Earth Thunder Palace. Even Reverend Lei Meng, without any evidence, could not do anything to Sun Lei Palace, just as Sun Shu had said. On the other hand, the Imperial Thunder Sect was far less interested in Xiaohua's death than the Nether Lotus and Zhenming's death. Rather than saying that they had sent their disciples to investigate Xiaohua's death, it was better to say that they had gone to search for the origins of the Nether Lotus, and see if there were any other netherworld treasures. Helplessly, he was originally disappointed in Xiaohua. Seeing that he was unable to redress his grievances, and that Di Hongshan's advancement was extremely fast, there was hope for him to snow the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Compared to the Thunder Palace, the thunder-controlling sect was the weakest. Therefore, he placed all his energy on Di Hongshan. He didn't even hesitate to use a precious treasure to exchange for the rainbow epiphyllum to help Di Hongshan stimulate his divine sense. "Junior brother Xiao, don't blame junior brother Di." Xiang Yang comforted. "When junior brother first came to the Imperial Thunder Sect, you must have heard many rumors about me. You must have been mocked by many senior brothers and martial uncles. Junior brother Chui must have also encountered such a situation. That's why he resented you in his heart. AI, not to mention you. He usually doesn't respect me and your senior sister-in-law. Hee, why would junior brother blame him? Xiaohua sneered. He built his own foundation, while junior brother refined his own qi. Speaking of qi, Xiaohua recalled his own anger and couldn't help but laugh. Haha, it's good that junior brother can see past it. Xiangyang didn't know whether Xiaohua was really laughing or not. He only comforted. We don't have any foundation. We can't compare to junior brother Chui. He has a lot of medicinal pills and other things on him. It's normal for his cultivation to progress so fast. That's right, senior brother. Do you know about the true spirit bloodline of the cultivation families? What kind of true spirit bloodline is that Chuanyu Chui family? Xiaohua suddenly asked. Hee, if you asked senior brother this question 2 years ago, senior brother really wouldn't be able to answer. Xiangyang smiled. A few years ago, when master and junior brother Chui were analyzing the progress of cultivation, junior brother Chui proudly said that their Chuanyu Chui family had some Ling Ke true blood. And it seems that your fairy Hongxia's Kai family has some Ice Phoenix true blood. It's an extremely powerful bloodline. I remember now. This junior brother Chui seems to have some impression of fairy Hongxia. Oh, Xiaohua's mouth hung a trace of a smile. That depends on whether fairy Hongxia has any impression of him or not. Xiangyang's laughter was very honest, but there was also a trace of other meaning in it. Hearing this, Xiaohua unconsciously raised a question in his heart. Fairy Hongxia's Ice Phoenix bloodline had awakened. Yin Jicheng's Flame Dragon bloodline had awakened, and this Di Hongshan's cultivation had increased so fast. Could it be that some bullshit Ling Ke bloodline was also about to awaken? Thinking about the other disciples who had entered the sect, their cultivation was advancing at the speed of a tortoise. This was a phenomenon that had never happened before. The Imperial Thunder sect's method of selecting disciples for thousands of years was not for nothing. Why did it start to fail now? Was there a problem with the aptitude of these disciples? Or was it some other problem? Cultivation method? Medicinal pill? Spiritual grass? Seeing that the cave dwelling in the 10,000 Thunder Valley was in sight, Xiangyang asked again, Junior brother Xiao, next, what do you plan to do? What other plans can junior brother have? I'll just stay in the Eastern Rich Herb Garden and cultivate. Xiaohua touched his nose and smiled. I can't go out to train, right? And I just came back, so I'll stay in the Eastern Ridge Herb Garden for a while. Xiangyang nodded. It's quiet there and no one will disturb me. That's right. Xiaohua smiled. Oh right, I haven't seen you for a few years, but senior brother's cultivation has improved a lot. Junior brother is really envious. Isn't my cultivation all due to junior brother Xiao's credit? If not for junior brother Xiao, how could senior brother have entered the middle stage of foundation establishment? And senior brother's cultivation also seems to be entering a bottleneck. In a few years, senior brother will go out with you to train. Xiangyang smiled, but there was also bitterness in his smile. Xiaohua understood in his heart that Xiangyang was not young. Even if he broke through to the middle stage of foundation establishment, his lifespan was still insufficient. His middle stage foundation establishment cultivation was too far away from fairy Hongxia. Xiangyang wanted to go out to train. He probably had other ideas. Great. Xiaohua clapped and said, if senior brother goes out to train with junior brother definitely won't encounter the dangers of the last training. Junior brother Xiao is Xiangyang hesitated. Xiaohua understood and smiled. This matter has already passed. Junior brother also doesn't want to mention it again. Indeed. Xiangyang nodded. Senior brother also had such an experience in his early years. After that, I don't want to mention a single word. At this moment, two divine senses swept over from afar. Xiangyang immediately smiled and said, Master's wife and your senior brother's wife are here. That you're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.